What's up, family? It's your girl, Empress G. This is your girl, Empress Goddess, the Georgia Peach. Welcome to Empress Goddess Presents Malcolm and Martin. The Black Man's History by Malcolm X. New Phase of the Old Civil Rights, Martin Luther King. Message to the Grassroots, Malcolm X. And then The Other America, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Let's get it.
Name of God's religion, it now isn't the name of God's religion. God doesn't change the name of his religion. God doesn't even change his religion. God doesn't change his mind. God's mind is made up from the beginning. He doesn't have to change his mind because he knows all there is to know all the way down the wheel of time. He never has to change his mind. His mind is made up. His knowledge is complete. It's all encompassing. Do you understand? So, once you can see, and I think you can, but it's almost impossible for God to call this his religion. What did God call his religion? Christians are the ones who call God's religion Christianity, but God was here before Christians came on the scene. They tell you that the Christians had their beginning back there with the Romans. One of the Roman emperors who supposedly accepted the teachings of some of Jesus' disciples and then named what the disciples taught Christianity. But Jesus didn't even call it Christianity. This wasn't named this until 200 or 300 years after Jesus was dead. Right or wrong. Any history book will tell this. Any Bible will tell this. Any theologian should have a knowledge of this. And the only Negroes who will contend with this are those who don't know history. And most Negroes don't know history. And most Negroes will contend with it. But when you tell it to the white man, he shuts his mouth. Because he knows that this is true. So then those who have studied a little deeper, they'll say, well, before it was called Christianity, it was called Judaism. Isn't this what they say? Named after a man called Judah. This right here doesn't follow logic. If Christianity became named this after Christ was born, and before Christ was born, the religion was called Judaism, then that means that this got its name from the son of Jacob, whose name was Judah. But history tells us that Jacob was serving God before Judah was born, which shows us that Jacob's religion couldn't have been Judaism, and Isaac was Jacob's father. He was serving God also before Jacob, his son, was born. Isaac was Judah's grandfather, and Abraham was Judah's great-grandfather, meaning Abraham was on the scene long before Judah came on the scene. Now, you couldn't call Abraham's religion Judaism because there was no such thing as Judaism in Abraham's day. There was no such thing as Judaism in Isaac's day or in Jacob's day. Do you understand? So what was God's religion before they called it Judaism? And this is something that the white man has never taught you and me. The white man is afraid to let you and me know what God's religion was called in Abraham's day, because Abraham was supposed to have been known as the father of all of them. He was supposed to be the progenitor of all of them. He's supposed to be one of God's first servants. One of the first to submit to God is supposed to be Abraham. Now, if you can see this, then find out what was Abraham's religion. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us Abraham's religion was the religion of Islam. Islam only means complete submission to God, complete obedience to God. Abraham obeyed God. Abraham obeyed God so much so that when God told Abraham to take his son and sacrifice him, stick a dagger in his heart. Is that what he told him? Abraham took his only son up on the mountain and was going to sacrifice him to God, showing you that he believed in Islam. What does Islam mean? Obey God. Submit to God. So that this name here, if you notice, has no connection, no association with the birth of a man. This is not a man's name. This doesn't come from a man. This comes from a man. Buddhism was named after a man called Buddha. Confucianism was named after a man called Confucian. Right or Confucius, right or wrong. Likewise with Judaism and Christianity. But Islam is not connected with any man. Islam is independent of any man. Islam is an act, which means submit completely to God or obey God. And when you say your religion is Islam, that means you're a Muslim. So, to clarify this, what must you do? You must have a knowledge of history. If you don't have a knowledge of history, you're running around calling yourself a Christian, swearing you're serving God. Or you run around saying that your religion is Judaism, you swear you're serving God. If your religion is Christianity, you follow in Christ. If your religion is Judaism, you follow in Judah. If your religion is Buddhism, you follow in Buddha. Do you understand? And they're all dead. And if you follow them, you'll die too. This is where it leads you. Wherever your leader is, that's what happens to you. Now, we who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we believe in Islam. We don't believe in Muhammad. We believe in Islam. He teaches us the religion of Islam. Do you understand the difference? These people they believe in Christ. They believe Christ is God. Oh, yes, they do. That he was born of the Blessed Virgin. That's what they believe. Didn't have a father, just a spirit. And then came into the world and was crucified and went up into space. They believe that. But they believe that because they don't know history. But you'll find the people, if you notice, the Jews have a greater knowledge of history than the Christians do. Do they not? The Christian history only goes back 2,000 years. The history of the Jews go back beyond 4,000 years. Can you see this? And the Muslim history goes back. There's no limit to the Muslim history. If you notice, the Christians can only go back to what they call the Greek Empire. Usually they go back to that's what they call the Occidental, the beginning of the Occident, the Greek Empire, Roman Empire, and so forth. The Jews have a knowledge of history that goes back into Egypt and Babylon. You notice how they all go back farther than the other. But now the Muslim history goes back. It has no limit. There are no chains on how far you can go back when you're a Muslim. The Christian and the Jew combined go back to whom? To Adam. And they stop right there. And they say beyond him there was nothing happening. Well, this is because they don't know. But the more history they assume, the greater their knowledge of history is, this has an influence on the type of religion that they accept. Do you understand? All praise is due to Allah. Another example. What makes the royal family of Europe or any country differ from the peasants? Royalty knows its ancestry. Royalty knows its history. This is what makes them royal. You can't have a king who can't trace his history on back into his forefathers. The only way he can be king is to be born a king. But if you take away his history and he doesn't know who his forefathers are, what does he become? A peasant, a common ordinary man. Same with the Jews and the Christians. It's because the Jews have the longest record of history that they can call themselves the chosen people. The Christians can't call themselves the chosen people because their history is not long enough. They can't go back to the time when the church was being made. But the Hebrews, the so-called Jews, they can go back so far, they can lay claim to that which actually is not theirs. But the reason they can claim it because nobody else that they're dealing with can go back far enough to dispute that. But the Muslims. Do you understand? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mission is to teach the so-called Negroes a knowledge of history, the history of self, of ourselves, our own kind, and by giving us a knowledge of this history concerning our own kind, show us how we fit into prophecy, how we fit into the prophecies of the Bible, biblical prophecy. Which means, when you go in one of these churches, usually they name their church after some word in this Bible. Big Rock Baptist Church, or Drinking at the Well Baptist Church. They got all those kind of names, right? Friendship Baptist, Union Baptist, Israel Baptist, Jacob's Ladder Baptist. Isn't that how they name them? They find some kind of old funny word in this Bible to name the whole religion after. Their whole doctrine is based on a verse in the Bible. He rose, Baptist Church. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad bases what he teaches not on a verse, but upon the entire book. From beginning to end, he says that he can open up the book and prove that what he's teaching is true. and prove that the Bible agrees with him, and then use the Bible to prove that what they're teaching in the church is wrong. You know, that's saying something. For instance, he says that in Genesis, the 15th chapter in the 13th verse, to give you an example, he points out where it says, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was mentioning this verse tonight on the radio. He said, and God said unto Abraham, know for a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that explains his teaching right there. Because he teaches that the so-called Negroes are the ones that the Bible is talking about, who have spent 400 years as strangers in a land that isn't theirs. And you can't deny that we're strangers here. I don't think any of y'all will deny that we're strangers here. We're not in a country where we're made to feel at home. We'll put it that way. There's hardly any Negro in his right mind can say he feels at home in America. He has to admit that he's made to feel like a stranger. Right or wrong? Well, this is what God told Abraham. This is what God told Abraham would happen in this day and time. Remember, Abraham's religion was Islam. Abraham wasn't a Jew. Abraham wasn't a Christian. Abraham wasn't a Buddha. Abraham was a Muslim. Which means he obeyed God. God told him, your people are going into bondage. They're going to become slaves. They're going to be afflicted. They'll be strangers far from home for 400 years. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, you and I are the seed of Abraham. We're the descendants of Abraham. Now the preacher in the church, he tells you that the Jew is the seed of Abraham. One of them is right and one of them is wrong. Either Mr. Muhammad is right and the preacher is wrong, or the preacher is right and Mr. Muhammad is wrong. This is what we are putting on the line today. Who is the seed of Abraham? Is it this blue-eyed, blonde-haired, pale-skinned Jew, or is it the so-called Negro? You. Who is it? And what makes it so pitiful, many of our people would rather believe that the Jew is God's chosen people than to believe that they are God's chosen people. They would rather believe that God is going to save the Jew than to believe that God is going to save them. They would rather believe that the Jew is better than anybody else than to believe that they themselves are better than anybody else. This is a Negro. Nobody else think like this but a Negro. Nobody else would put everybody in would rather believe that the Jew is better than anybody else than to believe that they themselves are better than anybody else. This is a Negro. Nobody else think like this but a Negro. Nobody else would put everybody else on top of him but the Negro. No one else would place himself below everyone else but the Negro. I mean, the American Negro. Tell us what God said, that the people would be strangers. The Jews aren't strangers. The Jews know their history. The Jews know their culture. The Jews know their language. They know everything there is to know about themselves. They know how to rob you. They know how to be your landlord. They know how to be your grocer. They know how to be your lawyer. Preach. They know how to join the NAACP and become the president. Preach. Right or wrong. They know how to control everything you got. You can't say they're lost, but the poor so-called Negro, he hasn't control over anything. He doesn't control the NAACP. He can't control the Urban League. He can't control CORE. He can't control his church. He can't control his own school. He can't control his own businesses and his own community. He can't even control his own mind. He's lost and lost control of himself and gone astray. So he fits the picture here that the Bible says concerning our people in the last day. Know for a surety that thy seed shall be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And you have served the white man. He hasn't served you and me. Why, the Jew hasn't served anybody here. You are the one that serves. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterwards they shall come out with great substance. Oftentimes when you say this to the so-called Negroes, they're going to tell you that this is the Jew. But if you notice when Jesus was talking to the Jew way back here in John, he told them that if they shall know the truth and it'll make them free. The Jew popped up and says, how are you going to say we shall be made free? We have never been in bondage to anyone. You know what the Jews told Jesus? Well, now look here. If the Jews told Jesus 2,000 years after Moses supposedly led the Hebrews out of bondage, that they had never been in bondage. Now you know the Jews had Moses' history. They knew who Moses was. How could they say up and tell Jesus they had never been in bondage? Because they had never been in bondage. Not these things that you call Jews. They weren't in Egypt. Those weren't the people that Moses led out of Egypt. And the Jew knows this. But the Bible is written in such a tricky way. When you read it, you think that Moses led the Jews out of bondage. But if you get a Jew in a good, solid conversation today and you know how to talk to him, you have to admit to you that it wasn't out of Egypt land that Moses brought them. It wasn't out of bondage that Moses brought them. It was out of somewhere else. And then where Moses really brought them is their secret. But thanks to Almighty God, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knows their secret. He told it to us, and we're going to tell it. If the Bible says that God is going to judge that nation, the nation that enslaved his people, how will he keep from destroying his own people?
What's up, boo?
Same Bible is a book of history.
Is
And
that
in the
finally
18th
our
chapter of
season? When your
Deuteronomy,
birthday
God
is?
told Moses, and in the 18th verse, God told Moses, I will raise them up a prophet. Talking about you and me, I'll raise them up a prophet just like thee. A prophet like Moses, whose mission it will be to do for you and me the same thing Moses did back there. It would be a prophet like Moses. And back when you get down into Malachi, he lets it be known that just before he comes to judge that nation, the name of the prophet or messenger whom he would send among the people, his name would be Elijah. Because before the coming of that great and dreadful day, I'll send you Elijah. And Elijah's job will be to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children. What do you mean turn the hearts of the children to the fathers? The so-called Negroes are childlike people. We're like children. No matter how old you get, or how bold you get, or how wise you get, or how rich you get, or how educated you get, the white man still calls you what? Boy. Why, you're a child in his eyesight. And you are a child. Anytime you have to let another man set up a factory for you, and you can't set up a factory for yourself, you're a child. Anytime another man can open up businesses and you don't know how to go into businesses for yourself and your people, you're a child. Anytime another man sets up schools and you don't know how to set up your own schools, you're a child. Because a child is someone who sits around and waits for his father to do for him what he should be doing for himself, or what he's too young to do for himself, or what he's too dumb to do for himself. So the white man, knowing that here in America, all the Negro has done, and this is, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. All you and I have done is build churches and let the white man build factories. You and I build churches and let the white man build schools. You and I build churches and let the white man build up everything for himself. And then after we build the church, we got to go and beg the white man for a job and beg the white man for some education. Am I right or wrong? That's a shame. It's too bad, but it's true. And it's history. So it says that these childlike people who will be children, bowing after the white man. It says in the last day that God will raise up Elijah. And Elijah's job will be to turn the hearts of these children back toward their father. Elijah will come and change our minds. He'll teach us something that'll turn us completely around. When Elijah finds us, we'll be easy to lead in the wrong direction, but hard to lead in the right direction. But when Elijah gets through teaching the lost sheep or the lost people of God, he'll turn them around. He'll change their mind. He'll put a bone in their back. He'll make them put their shoulders back and stand upright like men for the first time. It says he'll turn the hearts of these children toward their fathers and the hearts of the fathers toward the children. This is something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing here in America today. You and I haven't thought in terms of our forefathers. We haven't thought of our fathers. Our brothers are back home. Our fathers are in the East. We run around here begging the great white father. You never hear black people in this country talking or speaking or thinking in terms of connecting themselves with their own kind back home. They're trying to make a contact with the white man. Pick up on that. That's true.
Yeah,
Trying
you almost
to make a contact, trying to make a connection with the white man. Trying to make a connection with a kidnapper who brought them here. Trying to make a connection with actually the man who enslaved them. You know, that's a shame. It's pitiful, but it's true. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that when Elijah comes, the book says, when Elijah comes, what Elijah would do would be to teach these people the truth. And the truth that Elijah would teach to the people would be so strong, it would make all this other stuff that the people are talking about.
You want that crazy now, huh?
Like a fairy story.
Boy, I started live last night. Must be about 1 o'clock, and I know I had made a playlist, right? Shit, I woke up. Everything had those stop playing. I guess I had a whole bunch of damn comments in the damn stream, like 4 o'clock this morning. I told them this morning, I said, I went to sleep on y'all Negroes. Shit.
It would open the people's eyes up so wide that from then on, a preacher couldn't talk to them. And this is really true. Do you know people have come to Muhammad's mosque, and no matter whether they believe in what Mr. Muhammad is saying or not, they never can go back and sit in the church. This is true.
You a little nicer. What you mean you a little nicer than us, J. Rick Capricorns? I'm the sweetest person you'll ever find. I'm the sweetest woman you'll ever meet.
To be able to see and think for ourselves. He shows us where the white man, what he has taught us concerning history has actually been a distortion. He's never given you and me true facts about history. Neither about himself nor about our people. You know, I read a book one day called
when you get us wrong, you got hell to pay me.
Cities.
What you mean we mean as hell? I'm not mean. Am I mean?
You can go to the library, some library, and check it out. What was this based on? Show you what a liar the white man is. When I say liar, you have white people who are scientists, and they keep truth in their own circle. And they never let they never let the masses know anything about this truth that they keep in the circle. They got something else that they invent and put out for the masses to believe. But they didn't something else that they invent and put out for the masses to believe. But they themselves keep knowledge in a circle.
I told you.
So in this particular book, it pointed out
I hate that you messed that damn phone because it won't freeze up.
Delving in the room.
I have a nephew. His birthday is on the 23rd, and my brother is on the 24th. That's father and son. So, yeah, I guess you could say they nice. Because I ain't never really seen them mad or nothing. My brother, the one birthday on the 23rd. Now he is like he very emotional, like. He's very emotional. I'm emotional too. But my brother, he cried at the drop of a hat. But I cry too. I mean, movies and stuff. I mean, I can just cry about any little thing. I guess it's because of all my other placements in my chart, see? Because I got all that fire and stuff, so that makes me a little more, as you can say, a little more passionate, you know what I'm saying? That's why I tell people they need to know the placements in their chart. Cause see, I'm 16% earth, but I'm 43% fire. And like 23% air. 9% water.
Of the ancient city of Troy. And it's the practice of archaeologists, to dig. So in digging down into the ruins of Troy, they dug deeper than they intended to. And they ran into the ruins of another city that had been there so much longer ahead of this city of Troy that it had gone down beneath the sands of time. And they had built this city of Troy on top of it. And when these archaeologists were delving in the ruins of the ancient city, they learned that there was one that was there more ancient than that. So they started frantically digging down in that one and dug below it into another one. And before they got through digging, they had dug down and they had discovered that civilization in that area had been there so far back in the history that at different times in history, the civilization had been destroyed, had become completely covered up with sand and dirt until another people came along and didn't even know it was there and built another civilization on top of that. This happened 4 different times to give you somewhat of an idea of what the white man knows concerning the length of time man has been on this earth. And still that white man will come up in your face and try and make you believe that first man was made 6,000 years ago named Adam. And a lot of Negroes are running around here talking about Adam.
I'm here.
God took some breath and breathed on it and told Adam, come forth, and there he was. Now, you know, that's a shame. It's all right when you were a little baby to believe that God made a little doll out of the sand or mud and breathed on it, and that was the first man. But when you were a child, it's all right to believe like that. But here
I know we all mean
with all this information floating around in everybody's ears, you can get it free. Why, you should open up your mind and your head and your heart and realize that you have been led by lies. And today that it's time to listen to nothing but naked, undiluted truth. And when you know the truth, as Jesus says, truth will make you free. Abraham Lincoln won't make you free. Truth will make you free. When you know the truth, you're free.
Mm-hmm. Sure, you're right.
Also, you have your archaeologists, anthropologists, other forms of historians who agree, pretty well agree, that they don't know how long man has been on earth. That if they do know that he has been on earth longer than 6,000 years, and they know that man was not made just 6,000 years ago. They know this now, but a long time ago they didn't know it. There was a time when man had less ribs than a woman. People believe that because they said that God made Eve from one of Adam's ribs. So Adam had a rib missing. And they actually ran around here believing that man had one less rib. And you know, they were shook up when they really got into the science of anatomy and discovered that man, all his ribs were there. They began to wonder then what happened there in the Bible. That's a shame, bro. How long has man been here? In the Bible, in the first chapter of Genesis,
back until he brings it down for you.
Verse, after God had made everything else, it says here, and God said, let us make man.
That's right.
Let me write what God said here on the board. Look what God said, brother. I don't think you've ever looked at this. And it says, and God said, let us make man. The key word here is
us.
What?
Us.
Yes. What does us mean? More than one. Who was God talking to? If God was all by himself and no one was there but him, who was he talking to when he said, let us make man?
Come on,
who was there with God?
Come on with the Bible.
That was about to help him make this man. When God was getting ready to make the sun, he didn't say, let us make some sun. He said, let there be light. And here the sun, a ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 853,000 miles in diameter, 14,172 degrees hot, and God can say, let there be, and that big ball of fire pop up in the universe with no help. Now, you know something is wrong. It should be harder to make that than a man. A huge ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 14,172 degrees hot. That's a whole lot of heat. And God said, let there be, and let there be. Look up into the universe. He didn't ask for no help. He said, let there be this, let there be that. He had so much power that
I think that might be their
everything he wanted came into existence. As soon as he said be, there it was. But when he got to the man, something happened. He said, let us make man. Someone else was there then, wasn't it? That's something to think about. We'll let you think about it for a minute. The white man's world is a newer world than the black man's world. If this man that they said that they were about to make, and he said, we'll make him how? In our image, showing you that there's somebody there with him. In our likeness, showing you that still somebody is there with him.
Yep.
Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Let us make him look like us. He won't be the same as we are. He'll be our image. That's God talking, right?
Right.
He's talking to somebody. You know, I'm thankful to Allah for raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and making us see these things that we could never see before. The birth of the white race has always been a secret. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the birth of the white race is shrouded in the story of Adam. The story of Adam hides the birth of the white race. And because you and I have never been taught to look into a thing and analyze a thing, we took the story of Adam exactly as it was. And thought that God made a man named Adam 6,000 years ago. But today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that man, Adam, was a white man. But before Adam was made, the black man was already here.
There you go.
And that's not easy. That's not hard to see. The black man always sees. The white man will even tell you that.
There you go.
Because he refers to Adam as the first one. He refers to the Adamites as those who came from that first one. And he refers to the pre-Adamites as those who were here before Adam. Right or wrong? Those people that were here before Adam. And he always refers to these people as aborigines.
There you go.
Which means black folks.
There you go.
You never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines. But you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American.
There you go. Preach, Malcolm.
Aborigine actually means from the beginning. Two Latin words. Ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. And aborigine is only the term applied to those dark-skinned people who have been on this earth since the beginning of the universe. You know, that's going way back. You say, what you mean, since the universe? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that just as we pointed out there a moment ago, the black man has been here a long time. He never has had a beginning, but the white man has never had a knowledge of the history of the black man. It's like a father and a son. If the father is 50 years old and the son is only 10, the father knows everything there is to know about his son because he was here before his son was born. The son only knows what has happened during his own 10 years. He only knows what went on before his arrival from what his father tells him. It's the same way with the black man and the white man. The black man's been here a long time, but the white man has been here a short time. Now, the white man only knows about himself what he's been told, and he hasn't been told anything. He came to himself up in the caves of Europe. He can't get any information that goes beyond the caves. And since you and I fell into his trap and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. That's true. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that 66 trillion, since you and I fell into his trap and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. Us too. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that back 66 trillion years ago. Trillion, how much is trillion? Not hundreds, but nor thousands, nor millions, nor billions. But 66 trillion years ago, the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the
That motherfucker shut down on y'all. Malcolm was speaking too much truth. Damn it, man. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
giving us as our leader. He can't control his church. He up everything for himself. And then after we build the church, we got to go and beg the white man for a job. And beg the white man for some education. Am I right or wrong? If you've ever looked at this. And it says, and God said, let us make man. The key word here is what? Yes. What does us mean? More than one. Who was God talking to? If God was all by himself and no one was there but him, who was he talking to when he said, let us make? Let me write what God said here on the
That's a
board.
better recorder than I believe.
Look what God said, brother. I don't think you've ever looked at this. And it says, and God said, let us make man. The key word here is what? Yes. What does us mean? More than one. Who was God talking to? If God was all by himself and no one was there but him, who was he talking to when he said, let us make man? Who was here with God that was about to help him make this man? When God was getting ready to make the sun, he didn't say, let us make some sun. He said, let there be light. And here the sun, a ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 853,000 miles in diameter, 14,172 degrees hot, and God can say, let there be, and that big ball of fire pop up in the universe with no help. Now, you know something is wrong. It should be harder to make that than a man. A huge ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 14,172 degrees hot. That's a whole lot of heat. And God said, let there be, and it just jumped up into the universe. He didn't ask for no help. He said, let there be this and let there be that. He had so much power that everything he wanted came into existence. As soon as he said be, there it was. But when he got to the man, something happened. He said, let us make man. Someone else was there then, wasn't it? That's something to think about. We'll let you think about it for a minute. The white man's world is a newer world than the black man's world. If this man that they said that they were about to make, and he said, we will make him how? In our image, showing you that there's somebody there with him. In our likeness, showing you that still somebody is there with him. Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Let us make him look like us. He won't be the same as we are. He'll be our image. That's God talking, right? He's talking to somebody. You know, I'm thankful to Allah for raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and making us see these things that we could never see before. The birth of the white race has always been a secret. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the birth of the white race is shrouded in the story of Adam. The story of Adam hides the birth of the white race. And because you and I have never been taught to look into a thing and analyze a thing, we took the story of Adam exactly as it was and thought that God made a man named Adam 6,000 years ago. But today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that man, Adam, was a white man. But before Adam was made, the black man was already here. And that's not easy. That's not hard to see. The black man always sees. The white man will even tell you that. Because he refers to Adam as the first one. He refers to the Adamites as those who came from that first one. And he refers to the pre-Adamites as those who were here before Adam. Right or wrong? Those people that were here before Adam. And he always refers to these people as aborigines, which means what? Black folks. You never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. It's two Latin words. Ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. And aborigine is only the term applied to those dark-skinned people who have been on this earth since the beginning of the universe. You know, that's going way back. You know, what you mean, since the beginning of the universe? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that just as we pointed out there a moment ago, the black man has been here a long time. He never has had a beginning, but the white man has never had a knowledge of the history of the black man. It's like a father and a son. If the father is 50 years old and the son is only 10, the father knows everything there is to know about his son because he was here before his son was born. The son only knows what has happened during his own 10 years. He only knows what went on before his arrival from what his father tells him. It's the same way with the black man and the white man. The black man's been here a long time, but the white man has been here a short time. Now, the white man only knows about himself what he's been told, and he hasn't been told anything. He came to himself up in the caves of Europe. And he can't get any information that goes beyond the cave. And since you and I fell into his trap and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. That's true. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that 66 trillion, since you and I fell into his trap and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. Us too. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that back 66 trillion years ago. Trillion, how much is trillion? Not hundreds, but nor thousands, nor millions, nor billions. But 66 trillion years ago, the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the 46 million miles from the sun is a planet called Mercury, and 67,200,000 miles from the sun, another planet is another planet called Venus, and 93 million miles from the sun is the planet here that you and I live on called Earth. 141,500,000 miles out here is a planet called Mars, and 483 million miles from the sun is a planet called Jupiter, and 886 million miles from the sun is a planet called Saturn, and on down the road a couple more planets. So right here, this planet is right here, this planet that you and I live on called Earth, that rotates around the sun. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that 66 trillion years ago, our people were living on this planet. The black man was living on this planet. But in those days, it was larger than it is now. And the planet Mars that was off here beyond us had an effect upon our planet then in the same manner that the moon affects us today. At that time, there was no moon up there. Where was the moon? The moon was down here. The moon was part of this planet. The moon and this planet were one planet. And the black man was living here then. He was a scientist. He was a wise black man. Black men have always been wise. Black men have always been the wisest being in the universe. And among these beings, black beings, there is one who is supreme. He's referred to as the supreme. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that a wise black scientist 66 trillion years ago began to argue with the other scientists because there was something he wanted the people of Earth to speak a certain language. And because they wouldn't agree, he wanted to destroy civilization. So this scientist drilled a shaft into the center of the Earth and filled it with high explosives and set it off. He was trying to destroy civilization. He was trying to destroy the black man. But you can't destroy the black man. The black man can't destroy himself. The black man has the most powerful brain in the universe. There is no intelligence more powerful than the intelligence of the black man. And because of this, the black man can't even create a thought that will destroy him. He's indestructible. You can blow up everything, and the black man will still be here. You just can't get away from him, brother. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said they filled the earth, the high explosives and set it off. And when it was exploded, the piece that you and I today call moon was tossed out here into space, and it rotated around the earth. It still rotates around the earth. It came from the earth. It was blasted right out from the earth. And as it was blasted out from the earth, it turned over and over and over, and all of the water that was on it came along with the earth, stayed with the earth, so that the piece that was blasted out there has no water on it today. And because it has no water on it, it has no civilization on it, has no life on it. You can't have life where there's no water. Water is the source of life. Where there's no water, there's no life. Where there's no life, there's no civilization. Can you understand that? So this dead piece, called moon by us today, turning over and over and over, losing all of its water, all of the water coming with this piece. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this piece, the earth that we remained on, shifted 36,000 miles in the pocket that we remained in. And as it dropped, and all of the water came with it, it left the situation where today he says the earth that we now live on weighs 6 trillion tons. The weight of it is 6 trillion tons. And as it makes its way around the sun, the strong power of the sun's rays striking the equator causes the planet to turn on its own axis at the speed of 1,137 1/3 miles per hour. Now you would say that, and he teaches us that the square mileage of the earth is 196,940,000 square miles, which means only 57,255,000 square miles of land pick up out of 139,785,000 square miles of water. 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water, part of the water that left the moon and came with the earth. So you may say, well, how come, since it's the natural law for water to seek its own level, why doesn't it overrun the land? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that as the earth speeds around the sun, turning on its axis 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, it creates gravity, and the strong attracting power of the sun pulls on the waters of the earth, pulls them up into the sun and up into the earth's atmosphere in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect. And as this water gathers in the earth's atmosphere, it then distills and comes back to earth. After it gets heavier than the atmosphere in which it is in, it distills and comes back to the earth in the form of water, hail, or rain, or snow. All of the water that you see coming up the sky went up into the sky. Everything that's coming down on the earth got up there by leaving the earth. Do you understand? And he teaches us that it comes back down in the form of hail or rain or snow or whatever else you have, depending upon the temperature of the current of atmosphere that it was in. He says that at night the moon, the gravitational pull of the moon takes over. And because the power of the moon is not as great as that of the sun, once the attracting power of the sun is absent at night, then the moon takes over. And since it can't pull the waters up like the sun does, it still has that magnetic pull, and it causes the waves that you see out there on the ocean to churn. This is the moon that does that. The moon makes the waves go up and down. It never lets them level out. If it leveled out, it would overrun the land. It also causes the shifting of the tide. This is the pull of the moon upon the waters of the earth. If it weren't for the attracting power of the sun and the moon upon the earth, why, the waters would overrun the land and drown out civilization. All of this was done by man himself, not some mystery God, but a black man set this up. And you and I have been running around here in the trap that the white man put us in, thinking that the only one who can do anything either is a mystery God, and what the mystery God doesn't do, the white man does. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that all the time that this was going on, there was no white man. White man was nowhere on the scene. He says that when the moon was blasted away and we came along with the earth, in fact, one tribe was destroyed. Prior to the time that the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. In the explosion set off 66 trillion years ago, the 13th tribe was destroyed. And then all of the time down through the wheel of time since then, there were 12 tribes until 6,000 years ago. And 6,000 years ago, a scientist named Yaqub created another tribe on this earth. Understand? Prior to the time the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. But the 13th tribe was destroyed in that explosion. And from then until now, just 6,000 years ago, another tribe came on the scene. It was made, different from all of the 12 tribes that were here when it arrived. A new tribe, a weak tribe, a wicked tribe, a devilish tribe, a diabolical tribe, a tribe that is devilish by nature. So that before they got on the scene, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we came with the earth, the oldest city on earth is the holy city of Mecca in Arabia. Mecca is the oldest city on earth. Mecca is the city that is forbidden. No one can go there but the black man. No one can go there but the Muslim. No one can go there but the believer. No one can go there but the righteous. And at Mecca are kept the records of history that go on back into the beginning of time. He says that 50,000 years ago, another scientist named Shabazz became angry with the scientists of his day. He wanted to bring about a tougher people. He wanted the people to undergo a form of life that would make them tough and hard, and the other scientists wouldn't agree with him. So this scientist named Shabazz took his family and wandered down into the jungles of Africa. Prior to that time, no one lived in the jungles. Our people were soft. They were black, but they were soft and delicate. Fine. They had straight hair. Right here on this earth. You find some of them look like that right today. They are black as night, but their hair is like silk. And originally, all our people had that kind of hair. But this scientist took his family down into the jungles of Africa, and there, living in the open, and living a jungle life, eating all kinds of food that had an effect on the appearance of our people. Actually, living in the rough sun, in the rough climate, our hair became stiff, like it is now. And we undertook new features that we have now. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the only hair that the black man has today that looks now like it looked 5 or 50,000 years ago is on my eyebrows. Right here, you notice all Negroes got straight, don't care how nappy their head is, they got straight eyebrows. Some of them, when you see a nappy eyebrows Negro, you got somebody. But all of this took place back in history, and everything the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches is based on history. Now then, where does the white man come in? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the wise black man who was a master of science, he never wrote his history like it's written today of the past, but the wise black man in that day wrote his history in the future. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the circumference of the earth is 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000 miles. So he says the wise black man in the east writes history a year to every mile. He writes history to last for 25,000 years, not in the past, but in the future. He says that on this earth there are wise black men who can tune in and tell what's going to happen in the future just as clear. They can see ahead just as clear as they can see in the past. And every 25,000 years, he says that civilization reaches its peak or reaches its perfection. And at this time, the wise black man can hear a pin drop anywhere on the planet Earth. And they sit down and write history to last for 25,000 years. After this history has expired, they put it in a vault at the holy city of Mecca and write a new history. This has been going on and on and on and on and on. So he says, in the year 1 of the cycle in which we now live, the king, he says, in the east there are 24 wise men. They're spoken of in the Bible as 24 elders, or 24 prophets, or 24. Muhammad says that when these 23 men are called together by this one, which makes 24. And these 23, presided over by the 24th, are spoken of in the book of Revelation, where John said, he had a vision in heaven where there was a throne. And around the throne were 24 seats. And on the seats sat 24 elders. These 24 elders that are called angels are actually 24 wise black men who live right here on this earth. But no one knows who they are. At the end of every 25,000 years, this one calls all of them into conference. And they sit down at the holy city of Mecca. And the history for the past 25,000 years has expired. And it's time to write a new history. So these scientists begin to tune in on the population of the planet Earth. And he says that back in this day, at that time, there were 5 billion people on this earth, all of them black, not a white man in sight. 5 billion people, not a white man in sight. So he says that when these 24 scientists begin to tune in, they look down through the wheel of time. They can tell not only what the people on this earth are thinking, but they can tell what their children are thinking. What their unborn children's children are thinking. What their unborn children's children's children are thinking. They can look right down through the wheel of time and tell minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, for 25,000 years, exactly what is going to take place. And they discovered that in the year 8,400 to come, they would register among the 5 billion black people, 70% would be satisfied, and 30% would be dissatisfied. And out of that 30% would be born a wise black scientist named Yaqub. And Yaqub would teach among these 30% dissatisfied from whom he would come and create a new race, start a new world, and a new civilization that would rule this earth for 6,000 years to come. So they brought these findings back to the king. It was put in the book, and by the way, that which is written to last for 25 years is called Holy Quran. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this was put into the history, and then when the year 8,400 came, Yaqub was born. When Yaqub reached the age of 6 years old, he was playing in the sand one day with two pieces of metal, two pieces of steel, at which time he discovered what is known as the law of magnetism, that unlike attracts and like repels. Two objects that are alike repel each other, like two women repel each other. But man and woman attract each other. Unlike attract and like repel. Yaqub discovered this. So Yaqub knew that all he had to do was make a man unlike any other people on this earth, and because he would be different, he would attract all other people. Then he could teach this man a science called tricknology, which is the science of tricks and lies. And that this weak man would be able to use that science to trick and rob and rule the world. So Yaqub turned to his uncle and said, when I grow up, I'm going to make a man who will rule you. And Yaqub's uncle said, what can you make other than that which will cause bloodshed and wickedness in the land? And Yaqub pointed to his head and said, I know that which you know not. Yaqub was born with a determined idea to make this man, because it had been predicted 8,400 years prior to his birth that he would be born to do this work. So he was born with this idea in him. And when his uncle realized that this was he about whom it was prophesied, his uncle submitted. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaqub went to school in the East. He studied the astronomical sciences, mathematical sciences, and the germination of man. He discovered that in the black man, there are two germs. In the black man, there's a brown man. In the black man, or the black germ, which is the strong germ, there's a weak germ, a brown germ. Yaqub was the first one to discover this. And Yaqub knew that by separating that brown one from the black one, and then grafting the brown one until it became lighter and lighter and lighter, it would eventually reach its lightest stage, which is known as white. And when it got to that stage, it would be weak. And because it was weak, it would be susceptible to wickedness. And then Yaqub could take that weak man that he made and teach him how to lie and rob and cheat, and thereby become the ruler of all the rest of the world. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaqub began to preach. At the age of 16, he began to preach over there in Arabia, in the East. He preached among the 30% who were dissatisfied and got many of them to follow him. As they began to listen to Yaqub's teachings and believe it, his teaching spread. His followers grew, and it created confusion in the land. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that so much confusion came into existence over there that they threw Yaqub's followers in jail. And as fast as they were thrown in jail, they taught more people. So the teaching spread in jail. Finally, Yaqub was put in jail under an alias. And one day the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the thing began to get out of hand. And the authorities went to the king and told him that they couldn't control these people. But that they had the leader of the people in jail right now. And the king said, look, take me to him. And when the king went to the jail where Yaqub was, he greeted Yaqub. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Yaqub. I know you're Mr. Yaqub. And Yaqub said, wa alaikum salam, I am Yaqub. And the king said, look, I come to make an agreement with you. I know that you are the one that it is written or predicted would be on the scene in this day and would create a new race, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. But in order for us to have peace, we want to make an agreement with you. In order to stop the confusion, and for there to be some peace in the land, we want you to agree to take all who will follow you and exile yourselves out on an island in the Aegean Sea. Yaqub told them, I'll go, but you've got to give me everything that I will need to bring into existence a new civilization. You've got to give me everything I'll need, that which will last me. You got to supply me with everything I need for the next 20 years. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the king agreed with Yaqub to supply him. The government of that day agreed to supply Yaqub and his followers with everything that they need for 20 years. And he says that you get this in the Bible where it says Jacob wrestled with the angel. Jacob was Yaqub. And the angel that Jacob wrestled with wasn't God. It was the government of that day. Angel only means a power, or somebody with power. When a man has wings, or when a man has his wings clipped, you say that he lost his power, lost his position. So wings only mean a position of power and prestige. So when it says that Yaqub wrestled with the angel, angel is only used as a symbol to hide who it was Jacob was really wrestling with. Jacob was wrestling with the government of that day. And he made the government of that day give him everything he needs to last him and his followers for 20 years. Just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling the government of this day that they got to give us everything we need in our own separate territory to last us for 20 to 25 years. You say, well, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaqub agreed, the government agreed. Yaqub took all of his followers down to the sea. And he says that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaqub took 59,999 of his followers down to the seaside, with himself made 60,000. He piled them in boats and took them out to an island in the Aegean Sea called Pilar. In the Bible, it's called Patmos. When you read in the book of Revelation where John on the island of Patmos for the word of the Lord, that was Yaqub. What was John doing on the island of Patmos? John was Yaqub. John was out there getting ready to make a new race. He said, for the word of the Lord. What was the word of the Lord? The word was that in the year 8,400, a new man would be made. A new race would be made. And when Yaqub and his followers got out there, his followers realized that Yaqub was wiser than any man of his day. And they recognized him as a God. He was a God to them. So when you look there in the Bible where it says, and God said, let us make man, what was Yaqub do? Not to supreme.
Rat-infested, vermin-filled slums. In this America, people about it a great deal this week and weeks before that. But I'd like to use as a subject from which to speak this afternoon the other America. And I use this subject because there are literally two Americas. One America is beautiful for a situation. And in a sense, this America is overflowing with the milk of prosperity and the honey of opportunity. This America is the habitat of millions of people who have food and material necessities for their bodies, and culture and education for their minds, and freedom and human dignity for their spirits. In this America, millions of people experience every day the opportunity of having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in all of their dimensions. And in this America, millions of young people grow up in the sunlight of opportunity. But tragically and unfortunately, there is another America. This other America has a daily ugliness about it that constantly transforms the buoyancy of hope into the fatigue of despair. In this America, millions of work-starved men walk the streets daily in search for jobs that do not exist. In this America, millions of people find themselves living in rat-infested, vermin-filled slums. In this America, people are poor by the millions. And they find themselves perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. In a sense, the greatest tragedy of this other America is what it does to little children. little children in this other America are forced to grow up with clouds of inferiority forming every day in their little mental skies. And as we look at this other America, we see it as an arena of blasted hopes and shattered dreams. Many people of various backgrounds live in this other America. Some are Mexican Americans, some are Puerto Ricans, some are Indians, some happen to be from other groups. Millions of them are Appalachian whites. Probably the largest group in this other America in proportion to its size in the population is the American Negro. The American Negro finds himself living in a triple ghetto, a ghetto of race, a ghetto of poverty, a ghetto is to deal with this problem of the two Americas. We are seeking to make America one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now let me say that the struggle for civil rights and the struggle to make these two Americas one America is much more difficult today than it was 5 or 10 years ago. For about a decade or maybe 12 years, we struggled all across the South in glorious struggles to get rid of legal, overt segregation and all of the humiliation that surrounded that system of segregation. In a sense, this was a struggle for decency. We could not go to a lunch counter in so many instances and get a hamburger or a cup of coffee. We could not make use of public accommodations. Public transportation was segregated, and often we had to sit in the back, and within transportation within cities, we often had to stand over empty seats because sections were reserved for whites only. We did not have the right to vote in so many areas of the South. And the struggle was to deal with these problems. Now, certainly they were difficult problems. They were humiliating conditions. By the thousands, we protested these conditions. We made it clear that it was ultimately more honorable to accept jail cell experiences than to accept segregation and humiliation. By the thousands, students and adults decided to sit in at segregated lunch counters to protest conditions there. When they were sitting at those lunch counters, they were in reality standing up for the best in the American dream and seeking to take the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy, which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the formulation of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Many things were gained as a result of these years of struggle. In 1964, the Civil Rights Bill came into being after the Birmingham movement, which did a great deal to subpoena the conscience of a large segment of the nation to appear before the judgment seat of morality on the whole question of civil rights. After the Selma movement in 1965, we were able to get a voting rights bill. Now, all of these things represented strides, but we must see that the struggle today is much more difficult. It's more difficult today because we are struggling now for genuine equality. It's much easier to integrate a lunch counter than it is to guarantee a livable income and a good, solid job. It's much easier to guarantee the right to vote than it is to guarantee the right to live in sanitary, decent housing conditions. It is much easier to integrate a public park than it is to make genuine, quality, integrated education a reality. And so today we are struggling for something which says a public park than it is to make genuine, quality, integrated education a reality. And so today we are struggling for something which says we demand genuine equality. It's not merely a struggle against extremist behavior toward Negroes. And I'm convinced that many of the very people who supported us in the struggle in the South are not willing to go all the way now. I came to see this in a very difficult and painful way in Chicago over the last year where I've lived and worked. Some of the people who came quickly to march with us in Selma and Birmingham were active around Chicago. And I came to see that so many people who supported morally and even financially what we were doing in Birmingham and Selma were really outraged against the extremist behavior of Bull Connor and Jim Clark toward Negroes, rather than believing in genuine equality for Negroes. And I think this is what we've got to see now, and this is what makes the struggle much more difficult. So as a result of all of this, we see many problems existing today that are growing more difficult. It's something that is often overlooked, but Negroes generally live in worse slums today than 20 or 25 years ago. In the North, schools are more segregated today than they were in 1954 when the Supreme Court's decision on desegregation was rendered. Economically, the Negro is worse off today than he was 15 and 20 years ago. And so the unemployment rate among whites at one time was about the same as the unemployment rate among Negroes. But today the unemployment rate among Negroes is twice that of whites. And the average income of the Negro is today 50% less than whites. And as we look at these problems, we see them growing and developing every day. We see the fact that the Negro economically is facing a depression in his everyday life that is more staggering than the depression of the 30s. The unemployment rate of the nation as a whole is about 4%. Statistics would say from the Labor Department that among Negroes it's about 8.4%. But these are the persons who are in the labor market, who still go to employment agencies to seek jobs, and so they can be calculated. The statistics can be gotten because they are still somehow in the labor market. But there are hundreds of thousands of Negroes who have given up. They've lost hope. They've come to feel that life is a long and desolate corridor for them with no exit sign. And so they no longer go to look for a job. There are those who would estimate that these persons who are called the discouraged persons would be 6 or 7% in the Negro community. And that means that unemployment among Negroes may well be 16%. And among Negro youth in some of our large urban areas, it goes to 30 and 40%. And so you can see what I mean when I say that in the Negro community. That is a major, tragic, and staggering depression that we face in our everyday lives. Now, the other thing that we've got to come to see now that many of us didn't see too well during the last 10 years, that is that racism is still alive in American society and much more widespread than we realize. We must see racism for what it is. It is a myth of the superior and the inferior race. It is the false and tragic notion that one particular group, one particular race is responsible for all of the progress, all of the insights, and the total flow of history. And the theory that another group or another race is totally depraved, innately impure, and innately inferior. In the final analysis, racism is evil because its ultimate logic is genocide. Hitler was a sick and tragic man who carried racism to its logical conclusion. He ended up leading a nation to the point of killing about 6 million Jews. And this is the tragedy of racism because its ultimate logic is genocide. If one says that I'm not good enough, or unconsciously, that I do not deserve to exist. To use a philosophical analogy here, racism is not based on some empirical generalization. It is based rather on an ontological affirmation. It is not the assertion that certain people are behind culturally or otherwise because of environmental conditions. It is the affirmation that the very being of a people is inferior. And this is the great tragedy of it. I say that however unpleasant it is, we must honestly see and admit that racism is still deeply rooted all over America. It's still deeply rooted in the North. It's still deeply rooted in the South. Now, this leads me to say something about another discussion that we hear a great deal, and that is the so-called white backlash. I would like to honestly say to you that the white backlash is merely a new name for an old phenomenon, not something that just came into being because shouts of black power or because Negroes engaged backlash rather than the cause of them. What it is necessary to see is that there has never been a single solid, monistic, determined commitment on the part of the vast majority of white Americans. The whole question of civil rights and on the whole question of racial equality. This is something that truth impels all men of goodwill to admit. It is said on the Statue of Liberty that America is the home of exiles. But it doesn't take us long to realize that America has been the home of its white exiles from Europe. But it has not evinced the same kind of maternal care and concern for its black exiles from Africa. It is no wonder that in one of his sorrow songs, a Negro could sing out, "Sometimes I feel like a motherless child." What great estrangement, what great sense of rejection caused the people to emerge with such a metaphor as they looked over their lives. What I'm trying to get across is that our nation has constantly taken a positive step forward on the question of racial justice and racial equality. But over and over again, at the same time, it made certain backward steps. And this has been the persistence of the so-called white backlash. In 1863, The Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery, but at the same time, the nation refused to give him land to make that freedom meaningful. And at that same period, America was giving millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that America was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor that would make it possible to grow and develop, and refused to give that economic floor to its black peasants, so to speak. And this is why Frederick Douglass could say that emancipation for the Negro was freedom to hunger, freedom to the winds and rains of heaven, freedom without roofs to cover their heads. He went on to say that it was freedom without bread to eat, freedom without land to cultivate. It was freedom and famine at the same time. But it does not stop there. In 1875, the nation passed the Civil Rights Bill and refused to enforce it. In 1964, the nation passed a weaker Civil Rights Bill. And even to this day, that bill has not been totally enforced in all of its dimensions. The nation heralded a new day of concern for the poor, for the poverty-stricken, for the disadvantaged, and brought into being a poverty bill. But at the same time, it put such little money into the program that it was hardly and still remains hardly a good skirmish against poverty. White politicians in suburbs talk eloquently against open housing, and in the same breath contend that they are not racist. All of this and all of these things tell us that America has been backlashing on the whole question of basic constitutional and God-given rights for Negroes and other disadvantaged groups for more than 300 years. So these conditions, the persistence of widespread poverty, of slums, and of tragic conditions in schools and other areas of life, all of these things have brought about a great deal of despair and a great deal of desperation, a great deal of disappointment and even bitterness in the Negro communities. Today, all of our cities confront huge problems. All of our cities are potentially powder kegs as a result of the continued existence of these conditions. Many in moments of anger, many in moments of deep bitterness, engage in riots. And let me say, as I've always said, and I will always continue to say, that riots are socially destructive and self-defeating. I'm still convinced that nonviolence is the most potent weapon available to oppress people in their struggle for freedom and justice. I feel that violence will only create more social problems than they will solve. That in a real sense it is impractical for the Negro to even think of mounting a violent revolution in the United States. So I will continue to condemn riots and continue to say to my brothers and sisters that this is not the way. Continue to affirm that there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which cause persons to feel that they must engage in riotous activities as it is for me to condemn riots. I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. In the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention. Now let me go on to say that if we are to deal with all of the problems that I've talked about, if we are to bring America to the point that we have one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, there are certain things that we must do. The job ahead must be massive and positive. We must develop massive action programs all over the United States of America in order to deal with the problems that I have mentioned. Now, in order to develop these massive action programs, we've got to get rid of one or two false notions that continue to exist in our society. One is the notion that only time can solve the problem of racial injustice. I'm sure you've heard this idea. It is the notion almost that is something in the very flow of time that will miraculously cure all evils. And I've heard this over and over again. There are those, and they're often sincere people, who say to Negroes and their allies in the white community that we should slow up and just be nice and patient and continue to pray, and in 100 or 200 years the problem will work itself out, because only time can solve the problem. I think that is an answer to that myth, and it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extreme righteous in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. And it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that social progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must help time, and we must realize that the time is always right to do right. Now, there's another notion that gets out. It's around everywhere. It's in the South, it's in the North, it's in California, and all over our nation. It's a notion that legislation can't solve the problem. It can't do anything in this area. And those who project this argument contend that you've got to change the heart, and that you can't change the heart through legislation. Now, I would be the first one to say that there is real need for a lot of heart changing in our country. And I believe in changing the heart. I preach about it. I believe in the need for conversion in many instances, and regeneration, to use theological terms. And I would be the first to say that if the race problem in America is to be solved, The white person must treat the Negro right, not merely because the law says it, but because it's natural, because it's right, and because the Negro is his brother. So I realize that if we are to have a truly integrated society, men and women will have to rise to the majestic heights of being obedient to the unenforceable. But after saying this, let me say another thing which gives the other side, and that is that although it may be true that morality cannot be legislated, behavior can be regulated. Even though it may be true that the law cannot change the heart, it can restrain the heartless. Even though it may be true that the law cannot make a man love me, it can restrain him from lynching me. And I think that's pretty important also. And so while the law may not change the hearts of men, it can and it does change the habits of men. When you begin to change the habits of men, pretty soon the attitudes will be changed. Pretty soon the hearts will be changed. Now, I'm convinced that we still need strong civil rights legislation. And there's a bill before Congress right now to have a national federal open housing bill. A federal law declaring discrimination in housing unconstitutional. And also a bill to make the administration of justice real all over our country. Now, nobody can doubt the need for this. Nobody can doubt the need if he thinks about the fact that since 1963, some 58 Negroes and white civil rights workers have been brutally murdered in the state of Mississippi alone. Not a single person has been convicted for these dastardly crimes. There have been some indictments, but no one has been convicted. So there is a need for the whole question of the administration of justice. There is a need for fair housing laws all over our country. And it is tragic indeed that Congress last year allowed this bill to die. And that bill died in Congress. A bit of democracy died, a bit of our commitment to justice died. If it happens again in this session of Congress, greater degree of our commitment to democratic principles will die. And I can see no more dangerous trend in our country than the constant developing of predominantly Negro central cities ringed by white suburbs. This is only inviting social disaster. And the only way this problem will be solved is by the nation taking a strong stand and by state governments taking a strong stand against housing segregation and against discrimination in all of these areas. Now, there's another thing that I'd like to mention as I talk about the Massive Action Program, and time will not permit me to go into specific programmatic action to any great degree. But it must be realized now that the Negro cannot solve the problem by himself. There again, there are those who always say to Negroes, why don't you do something for yourself? Why don't you lift yourselves by your own bootstraps? And we hear this over and over again. Now, certainly, there are many things that we must do for ourselves and that only we can do for ourselves. Certainly, we must develop within a sense of dignity and self-respect that nobody else can give us, a sense of manhood, a sense of not being ashamed of our heritage, not being ashamed of our color. It was wrong and tragic that the Negro ever allowed himself to be ashamed of the fact that he was black, or ashamed of the fact that his home, ancestral home, was African. And so there's a great deal that the Negro can do to develop self-respect. There's a great deal that the Negro must do and can do to amass political and economic power. within his own community and by using his own resources. And so we must do certain things for ourselves, but this must not negate the fact and cause the nation to overlook the fact that the Negro cannot solve the problem himself. A man was on the plane with me some weeks ago, and he came and talked with me, and he said, the problem, Dr. King, that I see with what you all are doing is that every time I see you and other Negroes, you are protesting, and you aren't doing anything for yourself. He went on to tell me that he was very poor at one time, and he was able to make it by doing something for himself. Why don't you teach your people, he said, to lift themselves by their own bootstraps? And then he went on to say other groups face disadvantages, the Irish, the Italians, and he went down the line. And I said to him that it does not help the Negro, it only deepens his frustration for unfeeling and sensitive people to say to him that other ethnic groups who migrated were immigrants to this country just 100 years ago or so have gotten beyond him, and he came here some 344 years ago. And I went on to remind him that the Negro came to this country involuntarily in chains, while others came voluntarily. I went on to remind him that no other racial group has been a slave on American soil. I went on to remind him that the other problem that we have faced over the years is that the society placed a stigma on the color of the Negro, on the color of his skin, because he was black. Doors were closed to him that were not closed to other groups. And I'm to say to people that you ought to lift yourself by your own bootstraps, but it is a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. The fact is that millions of Negroes, as a result of centuries of denial and neglect, have been left bootless, and they find themselves impoverished aliens in this affluent society. And that is a great deal that the society can and must do if the Negro is to gain the economic security that he needs. Now, one of the answers, it seems to me, is a guaranteed annual income, a guaranteed minimum income for all people and for all families of our country. It seems to me that the civil rights movement must now begin to organize for the guaranteed annual income, begin to organize people all over our country and mobilize forces so that we can bring to the attention of our nation this need and this something which I believe will go a long, long way toward dealing with the Negro's economic problem and the economic problem with many other poor people confronting our nation. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk about Vietnam, but I can't make a speech without mentioning some of the problems that we face there, because I think this war has diverted attention from civil rights. It has strengthened the forces of reaction in our country and has brought to the forefront the military-industrial complex that even President Eisenhower warned us against at one time. And above all, it is destroying human lives, destroying the lives of thousands of the young, promising men of our nation, destroying the lives of little boys and little girls in Vietnam. But one of the greatest things that this war is doing to us in civil rights is that it is allowing the great society to be shot down on the battlefields of Vietnam every day. And I submit this afternoon that we can end poverty in the United States. Our nation has the resources to do it. The national gross product of America will rise to the astounding figure of some dollars this year. We have the resources. The question is whether the nation has the will. And I submit that if we can $5 billion a year to fight an ill-considered war in Vietnam and $20 billion to put a man on the moon, our nation can spend billions of dollars and on their own 2 feet right here on earth. Let me say another thing that's more in the realm of the spirit, I guess. That is, if we are to go on in the days ahead and make true brotherhood a reality, it is necessary for us to realize more than ever before that the destinies of the Negro and the white man are tied together. Now, there's still a lot of people who don't realize this. The races still don't realize this. But it is a fact now that Negroes and whites are tied together. And we need each other. The Negro needs the white man to save him from his fear. The white man needs the Negro to save him from his guilt. We are tied together in so many ways: our language, our music, our cultural patterns, our material prosperity, and even our food are an amalgam of black and white. And so there can be no separate black path to power and fulfillment that does not intersect white roots. There can be no separate white path to power and fulfillment short of social disaster. It does not recognize the need of sharing that power with black aspirations for freedom and justice. We must come to see now that integration is not merely a romantic or aesthetic something where you merely add color to a still predominantly white power structure. Integration must be seen also in political terms where there is shared power, and where black men and white men share power together to build a new and a great nation. In a real sense, we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. John Donne placed it years ago in graphic terms: no man is an island entire itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. And he goes on toward the end to say, any man's death diminishes me because I'm involved in mankind. Therefore never sin to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And so we all in the same situation. The salvation of the Negro will mean the salvation of the white man, and the destruction, the life, and of the ongoing progress of the Negro will be the destruction of the ongoing progress of the nation. Now let me say finally that we have difficult days ahead, but I haven't despaired. Somehow I maintain hope in spite of hope, and I've talked about the difficulties and how hard the problems will be as we tackle them. But I want to close by saying this afternoon that I still have faith in the future, and I still believe that these problems can be solved. And so I will not join anyone who will say that we still can't develop a coalition of conscience. I realize and understand the discontent and the agony and the disappointment and even the bitterness of those who feel that whites in America cannot be trusted. And I would be the first to say that there are all too many who are still guided by the racist ethos. And I am still convinced that there are still many white persons of goodwill, and I'm happy to say that I see them every day in the student generation, who cherish democratic principles and justice above principle, and who will stick with the cause of justice and the cause of civil rights and the cause of peace throughout the days ahead. And so I refuse to despair. I think we're going to achieve our freedom, because however much America strays away from the ideals of justice, the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. And for more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored here without wages. They made cotton king. They built the homes of their masters in the midst of the most humiliating and oppressive conditions. Yet out of a bottomless vitality, they continued to grow and develop. And I say that if the inexpressible cruelties of slavery couldn't stop us, the opposition that we now face, including the so-called white backlash, will surely fail. We're going to win our freedom, because both the sacred health of our nation and the eternal will of the Almighty God are embodied in our echoing demands. And so I can still sing, we shall overcome. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. With faith, we will be able to hew out of the mounting of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and live together as brothers and sisters all over this great nation. That will be a great day. That will be a great tomorrow. In the word, to speak symbolically, that will be the day when the morning stars will sing together and the sons of God will shout for joy. Thank you.
And during the few moments that we have left, we want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me. Us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand. We all agree tonight, all of the speakers have agreed that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is us. We're her problem. The only reason she has a problem is she doesn't want us here. And every time you look at yourself, be you black, brown, red, or yellow, a so-called Negro, you represent a person who poses such a serious problem for America because you're not one. Once you face this as a fact, then you can start plotting a course that will make you appear intelligent instead of unintelligent. What you and I need to do is learn to forget our differences. When we come together, we don't come together as Baptists or Methodists. You don't catch hell because you're a Baptist, and you don't catch hell because you're a Methodist. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist or a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Democrat or a Republican. You don't catch hell because you're a Mason or an Elk. And you sure don't catch hell because you're an American, because if you was an American, you wouldn't catch no hell. You catch hell because you're a black man. You catch hell, all of us catch hell for the same reason. So we are all black people, so-called Negroes, second-class citizens. ex-slaves. You are nothing but an ex-slave. You don't like to be told that. But what else are you? You are ex-slave. You didn't come here on the Mayflower. You came here in a slave ship, in chains, like a horse or a cow or a chicken. And you were brought here by the people who came here on the Mayflower. You were brought here by the so-called pilgrims or founding fathers. They were the ones who brought you here. We have a common enemy. We have this in common. We have a common oppressor, a common exploiter, and a common discriminator. So once we all realize that we have this common enemy, then we unite on the basis of what we have in common. And what we have foremost in common is that enemy, the white man. He's an enemy to all of us. I know some of you all think that some of them are enemies. Time will tell. In Bandung, back in, I think, 1954, was the first unity meeting in centuries of black people. And once you study what happened at the Bandung Conference and the results of the Bandung Conference, it actually serves as a model for the same procedure you and I can use to get our problem solved. At Bandung, all the nations came together. They were dark nations from Africa and Asia. Some of them were Buddhists. Some of them were Muslim. Some of them were Christian. Some of them were Confucianists. Some were atheists. Despite their religious differences, they came together. Some were communists. Some were socialists. Some were capitalists. Despite their economic and political differences, they came together. All of them were black, brown, red, or yellow. The number one thing that was not allowed to attend the Bandung Conference was the white man. He couldn't come. Once they excluded the white man, they found that they could get together. Once they kept him out, everybody else fell right in and fell in line. This is the thing that you and I have to understand. And these people who came together didn't have nuclear weapons.
Because, however much America strays away from the ideals of justice, the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. And for more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored here without wages. They made cotton king. They built the homes of their masters in the midst of the most humiliating and oppressive conditions. And yet out of a bottomless vitality, they continue to grow and develop.
These people who came together didn't have nuclear weapons. They didn't have jet planes. They didn't have all of the heavy armaments that the white man has, but they had unity. They were able to submerge their little petty differences and agree on one thing, that though one African came from Kenya and was being colonized by the Englishmen, and another African came from the Congo and was being colonized by the Belgians, and another African came from Guinea and was being colonized by the French, and another came from Angola and was being colonized by the Portuguese. When they came to the Bandung Conference, they looked at the Portuguese and at the Frenchmen and at the Englishmen and at the other Dutchmen and learn or realize that the one thing that all of them had in common, they were all from Europe. They were all Europeans, blonde, blue-eyed, and white-skinned. They began to recognize who their enemy was. The same man that was colonizing our people in Kenya was colonizing our people in the Congo. The same one in the Congo was colonizing our people in South Africa and in southern Rhodesia and in Burma and in India and in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. They realized all over the world Where a dark man was being oppressed, he was being oppressed by the white man. Where the dark man was being exploited, he was being exploited by the white man. So they got together under this basis, that they had a common enemy. And when you and I here in Detroit and in Michigan and in America, who have been awakened today, look around us, we too realize here in America, we all have a common enemy. Whether he's in Georgia or Michigan, whether he's in California or New York,
I just told the bomb mom that. I said he realized that's why they killed Dr. King. He realized he had made a mistake. That's why he said he felt like he had integrated his people into a burned house. He knew he had did wrong. That's why they killed him. They knew what was going down. The FBI was tracing him and Malcolm. They knew about Malcolm too. Them motherfuckers let that shit go down because when he started talking about money and giving us reparations and shit, they said, "Oh no, this nigga gotta go." That's why I played that part where he said before the Pilgrims even landed, we were here. That's what he said. We were here. That's why they killed that man. He realized his mistake. They saw they couldn't control him no more. He realized that they was like just kind of stringing him along, and he started really speaking. See, people don't be hearing all these speeches that he did. All y'all don't heard is the mountaintop. I have a dream. Y'all ain't heard these real deep speeches he made because the white people don't want y'all to hear him.
Same man, blue eyes and blonde hair and pale skin. Same man. So what we have to do is what they did. They agreed to stop quarreling among themselves. Any little spat that they had, they settled it among themselves. Go into a huddle. Don't let the enemy know that you got a disagreement. Instead of us airing our differences in public, we have to realize we're all the same family. And when you have a family squabble, you don't get out on the sidewalk. If you do, everybody calls you uncouth, unrefined, uncivilized, savage. If you don't make it at home, you settle it at home. You get in the closet, argue it out behind closed doors. And then when you come out on the street, you pose a common front, a united front. And this is what we need to do in the community and in the city and in the state. We need to stop airing our differences in front of the white man. Put the white man out of our meetings, number one, and then sit down and talk shop with each other. That's all you got to do. I would like to make a few comments concerning the difference between the Black Revolution and the Negro Revolution. There's a difference. Are they both the same? And if they're not, what is the difference? What is the difference between a Black Revolution and a Negro Revolution? First, what is a revolution? Sometimes I'm inclined to believe that many of our people are using this word revolution loosely, without taking careful consideration what this word actually means and what its historic characteristics are. When you study the historic nature of revolutions, the motive of a revolution, the objective of a revolution, and the result of a revolution, and the methods used in a revolution, you may change words. You may devise another program. You may change your goal. And
I have never been that said, let us make man. When the supreme being made the sun, he said, let there be light. He said he was supreme. Was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him. Now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. Us too. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that back 66 trillion years ago. Trillion. How much is trillion? Not hundreds, but nor thousands, nor millions, nor billions. But 66 trillion years ago, the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the 46 million miles from the sun is a planet called Mercury, and 67,200,000 miles from the sun, another planet is another planet called Venus, and 93 million miles from the sun is the planet here that you and I live on called Earth. 141,500,000 miles out here is a planet called Mars, and 483 million miles from the sun is a planet called Jupiter, and 886 million miles from the sun is a planet called Saturn, and on down the road a piece are a couple more planets. So right here, this planet that this planet that you and I live on called Earth, that rotates around the sun. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that 66 trillion years ago, our people were living on this planet. The black man was living on this planet. But in those days, it was larger than it is now. And the planet Mars that was off here beyond us had an effect upon our planet then in the same manner that the moon affects us today. At that time, there was no moon up there. Where was the moon? The moon was down here. The moon was part of this planet. The moon and this planet were one planet. And the black man was living here then. He was a scientist. He was a wise black man. Black men have always been wise. Black men have always been the wisest being in the universe. And among these beings, black beings, there is one who is supreme. He's referred to as the supreme. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that a wise black scientist 66 trillion years ago began to argue with the other scientists because there was something he wanted the people of.
Mr. Moderator, Reverend Cleave, and Milton, brothers and sisters, and friends, and I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains.
Hello, Capricorn, and welcome back to this general reading for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. If y'all are new to my channel, my name is Jazz. If y'all are not new, then y'all already know what is up. This is going to take a look at this person's or your person's intentions towards you at this time. Remember, Capricorn, you may or may not resonate, but if you do, smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to make sure your monkey butt is subscribed to the channel for more content and for more of me. Let me take a sip of coffee, and then we'll get started. Capricorn, what is this person's intentions towards you at this time? We split the deck. We got Ace of Cups, Eight of Wands. So definitely some sort of passionate moves. Show us what we need to see here for this person's romantic intentions towards Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter signs at this time, please, Spirit. What is this person's intentions towards Capricorn? What is this person's romantic intentions towards Capricorn, please, Spirit? Thank you. Wow. So we've got the Star. This person is feeling very drawn and called to you. Like they feel like this is a higher calling. The Ace of Swords. Yeah, they feel like this person is coming towards you. Yeah, with the Lovers, they choose you, Capricorn. This person has made a choice and they've made a decision here, and it's like, I'm choosing Capricorn. I'm choosing to follow my intuition. I'm choosing to follow my higher guidance system. And this is also my God-given truth. This is the truth that, I know and I believe in for myself. This is the truth that I stand by. This is their truth here, Capricorn, right? And this Aquarian energy, Virgo energy, this person could be a Virgo or Aquarius, or they could have air or water. They could have air, water, or earth energy in their chart, Capricorn, just like you. But this person has thought very deeply about this, right? They've taken the time to process this information. They've taken the time to think about you and them and all of this energy. And, this person really believes that you and them are meant to be with one another. This person is choosing, and it's like very raw. It's a very raw energy. They're like at the very basic level of life. This is how I feel about Capricorn. These are my true intentions. These are my true feelings. And I want this to be known. You know what I mean? This person wants to express the things that are deeply hidden, within themselves. And this is not necessarily things that they've kept from you. I feel like this person has definitely tried to express in the best way that they can how they feel. But this is really the deep and true utter feelings that this person holds and, processes and thinks about on their own, which is having a lot to do with you, Capricorn. Bottom of the deck energy is the Six of Cups. Wow, the Wheel of Fortune and the Two of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like there has been a choice or decision that has been made here. This person sees the connection between you and them as being very harmonious and being very loving. And they almost feel as if there's something coming back around, right? And they're like, I don't want to lose out on this time. So I'm making this choice. I'm making this, like, it's almost like head over heels type of choice or decision, because this person is like, if this is how I feel, if this is what I'm thinking, why hold back? Why continue to not say anything, right? Why keep things stagnant, right? This person is going to take a chance, take a leap of faith. We do see the Five of Cups with the Two of Wands and the King of Pentacles, but the Two of Cups is there as well. And it's because, this person knows there's a little bit of fear mongering. I got a little bit of fear going on within myself, right? Because, the Fool is a risk. It's a risk taking. And it's like this person is not quite sure if you're going to be open to possibly, what the future holds for the two of you. So just kind of be cognizant and aware of that, Capricorn. But this person does feel like there's like soulmate energy, possibly twin flame energy going on between the two of you. And this is something that, they want to explore. They want more of this. Show us what we need to see here for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. This person's true romantic intentions towards Capricorn at this time. This person's true romantic intentions towards Capricorn. It's time to disconnect from the world. This person may want to go somewhere with you. Yeah, honeymoon's at the bottom of the deck. There could possibly be some sort of a move or a change in location here. And I also say that because when we were taking a look at the bottom of the deck energy, the overall affecting energy, Six of Cups, the Wheel. This could be about kind of even moving. The Wheel of Fortune is about travel, right? And the Six of Cups is the past, or feeling like somebody's coming in from the past. Maybe this person wants to travel somewhere with you, go the distance with you, especially with the Fool and the Two of Wands coming after that. And maybe this person is concerned that maybe you're not going to want to go with them. For some of you, this person is going to invite you or going to ask you to move or go somewhere with them, invite you on a trip or something. And this person is nervous because they're not quite sure of how you're going to, heart-to-heart conversation trying to come out. They're not quite sure of how you're going to perceive that. Give us two more here for Capricorn, please. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. This person's true intentions towards them. Too many. This person's true intentions towards Capricorn. Whoa, okay. So they're saying 1, 2, 3. Okay. I don't know what's underneath of that new love card, but there's 4. So you've got, wow, new love, wedding, express your love and passion. Yeah, this person, Capricorn, they're the real deal. They mean business here. For whomever this is for, I don't feel like this is a past person. I do feel like this is someone new. And what I mean by somebody new and not somebody from the past, I don't feel like you've had a relationship with this person. This could be somebody you've had a situationship with. This could be like, and I mean situationship like y'all were never actually involved with one another, seriously. Like there was no official connection. You guys maybe were just hanging out. You know, you guys were friends. There wasn't a lot of toxicity involved within the situation. Okay. I just want to make that clear. All right, let's get a little deeper here with this energy for Capricorn. Please, Spirit. I don't mean to be pushy. Okay. This is, again, looking at this person's true romantic intentions towards Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Like I said, this person wants to express how they feel, and their feelings are serious. They're deep. It's established. It's like, you know, I ain't for play. My feelings aren't for play. You know, this person's like, I definitely could see myself marrying you. Like, I could see myself being in a long-term relationship with you. For some of you, again, this person wants to move with you, relocate you somewhere else, right? This person, you know, wants to really express how they feel. I do feel like you and this person have had a sexual encounter before, or if you haven't, this person knows that it will be, yeah, look at this, Queen of Gabriel, which is Queen of Wands energy, passionate, go after what you want, the ability to track helpful people. I feel like Capricorn, whomever this is, this person feels like you and them collide in a very beautiful way, and they feel like you and them have a lot of passion between the two of you, and you guys are also very passionate in your own individual rights, right? You and them may also be like in the public eye somehow with the Star and the Queen of Gabriel. And I feel like it's about passion projects, things like that. It could be them, it could be you, it could be the both of you. I do feel like there's some, I don't want to say fame, but public eye energy involved. And then you guys also have the Empress. Yes, luxurious and abundance of resources. Creativity is rewarded. This is looking really good for the both of you. I feel like this person intends on, you know, creating a magnificent life with you. This person wants to create a magnificent life with you, but I also feel like the two of you are very creative individuals. I feel like there's also this sense of privacy involved in the connection and not secrecy, right? Privacy and not secrecy, like kind of keeping the connection private away from the public eye. You guys do have 3 out of 4 major arcana. I do feel like this is a very serious connection here. I do feel like this person intends on, it's almost as if they want to create something specifically for you. You have the Ace of Michael as well as the Moon. This person, yeah, this person is honestly listening to their intuition. I feel like they want to create something for you. And when I mean create something for you, this could be a ring, this could be a home. And this is with the Empress and the Queen of Gabriel, Queen of Wands energy. With the Ace of Swords, you have the Ace of Swords again in the Moon. So it's, again, this person listening to their intuition. They're following what their higher self is telling them. They also want to come forward very clear. They want to have very clear communication with you. You know, they don't want to keep any secrets or anything like that. That's why I said I feel like this is a private matter, but not a secret matter. Because there is honesty involved here. The Ace of Michael attached to the Moon, there's no secrets. It's clear, it's there, but it's private, right? The Hermit kind of keeps things private, you know, protected as well. Because this is a very powerful energy. Bottom of the deck is the Lovers. I'm sorry. But for whoever this is for, this is a very divinely guided relationship. Okay, you and this person coming together are creating a beautiful life. I feel like it's a life that everybody wants. It's the type of passion, it's the type of pleasure, it's the type. You're definitely this person's type. And I feel like this person is completely your type here. Let's get one more here for Capricorn with the energy of the Hermit, please. Can we have one more for the energy of the Hermit, please, Spirit? Thank you. Wow. Okay, so we have the Four of Michael, insights that come from quiet meditation, the need for more sleep or time off, seek from stress relief. Yeah, I feel like this person has just kind of been meditating on this energy as well, has been processing, and I feel like they're going to come out of this because we have the World. It's a happy ending. It's things coming full circle. It's spiritual growth and insight. It's like this person realizes and understands that, you know, this is the situation that they want. This is the relationship or the connection that they really want to be in or want to be involved in. And they're expressing that. Again, this is private, but not secret. This person wants to just keep the connection or the relationship private. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the star energy with the Empress and the Queen of Gabriel. Okay. And bottom of the deck here, overall affecting energy is the Three of Michael, with number 14 solutions and the Six of Gabriel, Six of Wands energy. This Three of Michael with the solutions, it's about healing. And I feel like a lot of the privacy as well is, you know, kind of making sure that things get past the certain stage, right, before publicizing. And, you know, also because people are still trying to heal, especially when they are starting out in connections and relationships. Let's go ahead and get some more messages here.
That I'm getting is this person.
With the Ace of Swords, you have the Ace of Swords again in the Moon. So it's, again, this person listening to their intuition. They're following what their higher self is telling them. They also want to come forward very clear. They want to have very clear communication with you. You know, they don't want to keep any secrets or anything like that. That's why I said I feel like this is a private matter, but not a secret matter. Because there is honesty involved here. The Ace of Michael attached to the Moon, there's no secrets. It's clear, it's there, but it's private, right? The Hermit kind of keeps things private, you know, protected as well. Because this is a very powerful energy. Bottom of the deck is the Lovers. I'm sorry. But for whoever this is for, this is a very divinely guided relationship. Okay, you and this person coming together are creating a beautiful life. I feel like it's a life that everybody wants. It's the type of passion, it's the type of pleasure, it's the type. You're definitely this person's type. And I feel like this person is completely your type here. Let's get one more here for Capricorn with the energy of the Hermit, please. Can we have one more for the energy of the Hermit, please, Spirit? Thank you. Wow. Okay, so we have the Four of Michael, insights that come from quiet meditation, the need for more sleep or time off, seek from stress relief. Yeah, I feel like this person has just kind of been meditating on this energy as well, has been processing, and I feel like they're going to come out of this because we have the world. It's a happy ending. It's things coming full circle. It's spiritual growth and insight. It's like this person realizes and understands that, this is the situation that they want. This is the relationship or the connection that they really want to be in or want to be involved in. And they're expressing that. Again, this is private, but not secret. This person wants to just keep the connection or the relationship private. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the star energy with the Empress and the Queen of Gabriel. Okay. And bottom of the deck here, overall affecting energy, is the Three of Michael with number 14, solutions, and the Six of Gabriel, Six of Wands energy. This Three of Michael with the solutions, it's about healing. And I feel like a lot of the privacy as well is, kind of making sure that things get past the certain stage, right, before publicizing. And, also because people are still trying to heal, especially when they are starting out in connections and relationships. Let's go ahead and get some more messages here. This person's intentions towards Capricorn. This person's romantic intentions towards Capricorn, please. What is this person's romantic intentions towards Capricorn? Any other messages here? Any other messages here about this person's romantic intentions towards Capricorn? Whoa, Nelly, yeah. Whoa, Nelly. I feel like this is how you make this person feel. Encounter with ring. Wow. Okay. Bullseye, bottom of the deck. This person absolutely feels, they feel like this is everything to them. And didn't I say I feel like this person is trying to design something, and here you have the ring? Capricorn, let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real. Not bottom of the deck, that card that just wanted to swirl around was 6 months. 6 months. Show us what we need to see here for Capricorn. Show us what we need to see here for Capricorn. Hold on. Show us what we need to see for Capricorn. Closing out this message, please, Spirit, for Capricorn. Oof. Closing out this message, please, for Capricorn. Closing out this message, please, for Capricorn. Opportunity is in the palm of your hand and an increase in money. Wow. Bottom of the deck is 777. All I'm going to say is I feel like this person that's coming into your life, Capricorn, is going to create a major, y'all two are going to have a major increase. It's something to do with this star energy. They really miss you a lot. Bottom of the deck is new love entering your life. Capricorn, that's what I have for you. I hope you found this insightful. Smash that like button or leave a comment down below, but I will speak to you guys very, very soon. Hi, my loves. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. I hope that you are having a beautiful and amazing day. This is a timeless collective reading for all signs.
Hi Capricorn, welcome to your mid-December 2022 general love reading. This is your girl, Mermaid Scales Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me here. This is a general love reading for the Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and or any other strong placement for the sign of Capricorn. This is a general reading, so please keep that in mind. It may resonate, it may not, but regardless, only take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't for someone else who needs to hear that message. Hi cross watchers, you're very welcome here if you're interested in a Capricorn. Who wouldn't be? I'd like to remind Capricorn and cross watchers that energy is fluid, and this simply means you may feel like I'm describing a situation in the reading where you feel the roles are flipped or reversed, and that's completely okay. You're more than welcome to use your own discretion to flip those roles if that resonates with your specific situation the best. So let's see what's happening for you guys in the month from now to the end of December. In love and romance, what do you need to know about your love life at this time? What energy wants to come through that has romantic feelings or attentions towards you right now in this very moment, whether you're single or taken, together or apart? So we have getting to know each other. All right. And it says, as you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. So it's kind of similar to Libra's reading, but a little bit more different. I feel like this is beyond the flirting stage between the two of you. Someone's really starting to like you, Capricorn. And I do feel that this person wants to hang out with you more and more, has been reaching out to you or will be reaching out to you, will be asking you on dates where you guys are just going to be one-on-one, going out to dinner, hanging out at each other's houses, watching movies, spending more quality time. And I do feel they've been excited about meeting you, telling people about you, about how they met you and what so far everything has been going. And I think that someone's been bragging about you as well, showing off your social media, showing off that they are starting to talk to someone that they're really starting to like. So tell me more about this energy, about what's going on in Capricorn's life. And there may be birthday plans with this person that you're starting to think of, that you want to invite them to, or something that they may think of doing special for your birthday. Can't get hurt again. So there is someone that they know this is getting intense. They know that this is getting real. And that's the thing that's scaring them the most, because last time it got down like this, last time feelings started to develop, someone got burned big time. And I feel maybe that's why someone is kind of resisting this. And maybe Capricorn, you're kind of just wondering why this person gets guarded from time to time, why they seem so interested in 1 second and then the next second they're just kind of shut off a little bit and withdrawn. And if they are doing that to you, Capricorn, it's not because they don't like you, it's because they're afraid of getting hurt. So I even feel like someone could have been in a failed marriage, a failed relationship that ended in 2022. Specifically, I'm hearing March for someone. Maybe you're dealing with a Pisces or an Aries. But yeah, I think things are starting to get really real between the two of you. And that's why someone's getting a little bit more apprehensive, but the other person isn't afraid. And I think that's what the person who's not afraid, who is really excited about this, wants the other person to understand that I'm not going to hurt you. Someone could wear braids in their hair quite a bit, like to braid their own hair, or just got their hair braided. But we're going to go ahead and get into the tarot. And with the tarot, I'm going to ask how they feel about you right now. What do they think of you? What do they like about you? What do they not like about you? What do they like about the connection that they have with you currently? And what do they not like about it? And what are their highest hopes and deepest fears in regards to this connection with you, Capricorn? What are they really hoping is going to happen? And what are they afraid of is going to happen between the two of you? Their worst fears about it all. Okay, yeah. So there's definitely an avoidance here. Someone's been avoiding having that conversation. Someone's been avoiding talking about their feelings. And I think the other person, whoever's not afraid of this, is kind of reading the other person's hurt a little bit. I wonder though, if Capricorn, if this is you that's been hurt, if you've really fully told this person why you've been a little bit more guarded. I think that for most of you, you haven't. Whether this is like relatively new or because it's just been something that has been such a hurdle in your life, you don't feel vulnerable enough yet to expose it. But I think it would give this person a better understanding of where you're at, because right now they think you're detached, they think you're guarded, they think you're closed off. And they are really excited about this, but they're really worried or afraid, or even right now thinking they're a little bit sad, thinking you don't want this to go further with them because of the hurt, because of the pain that you've experienced in the past. But they want to save this and they want to salvage this, Capricorn. This King of Cups in this position has been very popular. It was in Sagittarius's reading. It was also in, I believe it was Pisces, but I could be wrong. Interesting. I'm going to get the cards out first and then I'll show them to you guys. This is starting to make a lot of sense. The story that's unfolding here. All right. So, bottom of the deck, we have the Queen of Swords. Yeah, I felt that protection for sure. Libra energy. So, yeah, I do feel that up until this point, someone feels like someone has been not hiding the truth per se, but hasn't been completely open. And I do get the sense that Capricorn, with whatever past relationship you went through that did hurt you, it definitely left its mark. And it's something that you'll never forget. And that taught you a very important lesson about people, about relationships, about how important discernment is when you are spending time with someone that you want to develop something very real with, and when to kind of start picking up on the repeated patterns or behaviors, and when to cut something if it's not serving you. But I wonder, Capricorn, if it's gotten to this point now, though, where someone is really starting to get to this part of you that you have kept protected for such a long time. I do feel with this Queen of Swords energy, you are someone they find to be very intelligent, very smart, very well spoken. You know what you're talking about. You back up the facts with it. And the way you communicate is very clear. But it's also very clear when you don't want to talk about certain things. And you make that very evident, and you almost shut it down pretty quickly. So I do feel, Capricorn, that maybe what's been developing between the two of you is the need to have a certain conversation about a certain experience, about what you're looking for in love and what pace you're ready to go at. Because I still feel, whether it's you or the other person here that's being the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Swords needs a little bit more time to analyze, to evaluate, to make sure that they're not going to be hurt again. The problem is not that like you're feeling this way, that you're feeling a little bit vulnerable and maybe a little bit nervous about it, but it's the fact that it's not being talked about. That I think it's leaving the other person, or maybe even you, trying to fill in sentences or trying to fill out in feelings that someone really isn't communicating very clearly. So I think it's time for someone to really express and to reveal some sort of side to them that will make or help the other person understand what's going on in the mind of someone who is starting to care but is really afraid of it. So let's dive in. How they feel about you or feel about this connection right now is the Five of Cups. Scorpio energy. I do feel, Capricorn, I wonder if there has been bad communication between the two of you lately. or that you had to kind of cancel on a certain plan that they were really excited for. But there is something about this connection that makes them really sad right now in this moment. Whether you haven't called them back, you haven't texted them back, they just kind of feel confused by you. To be honest, I wonder if this was a canceled date, a canceled going out together. They wonder if you've rejected them. Others of you, if that's not so much what happened and this is not how they feel about you towards it currently, I think they're starting to sense the pain that may linger within a connection here, which has been the theme for a few readings going on. So I wonder if December 2022 is the time to wrap up any sort of old energies so you can prepare for what's trying to build in 2023. I feel with this Five of Cups that there has been someone that's been affected by cheating in the past. And now it's like, I can't really trust anyone these days. They say they're exclusive, yet they're following these very sexual accounts on social media, or they're messaging other people. So maybe they're kind of wondering or sensing if you have been cheated on before, and that's why you are so guarded. And for those of you that may know this story, that you have expressed or shared falling out in a relationship or being betrayed in a relationship or anything, they want to help you heal that. They want to help you heal that little wound in your heart that may still be sore from whatever you went through, Capricorn. They want to show you that they're different. Because what they're thinking about in this connection or having with you is the Page of Pentacles. They want to offer to you something solid. They want to offer you something committed. But I have to be honest here, Capricorn, if this is their energy and this is their side of thinking things, they're not going to do it until they feel like you're ready or they feel like you're actually in this. Because those questions still kind of linger in their mind about it all. Now, some of you, I have to say, they're thinking of giving you something special for your birthday or planning something special here. A dinner date, a party with you and your friends. It feels something small, but something very meaningful to you that they know you're going to want and they know you're going to enjoy. But I do feel for those that are aware of the wound or aware of what happened with you in love and romance, your last relationship maybe even, they want to prove it to you that they're different, and they're trying to think of a way to prove it to you that they're not the same as your past and they're not going to hurt you like your past did. I keep on hearing a key. I wonder if someone is going to give you a key to their house, or maybe even that could be a metaphor from spirit about something being unlocked here. That someone wants to finally get to the core of the issue that maybe has been hiding or has been buried in someone's heart and expose it to the light so they could do something about it. So they can prove it to you, in a sense. That's basically what I'm getting from this Page of Pentacles here. Let me show you. Now, interesting position for this card to be in, but what they like the most about you is the Seven of Swords. Aquarius energy. So I do feel that they kind of sense when a conversation is starting to get a little bit too intense for you, vulnerable for you, that you do tend to avoid it in a way. I mean, I feel like with the Seven of Swords, you are someone who thinks a lot and thinks how is the best that I can get a conversation going or get this date started where I be all right at all times. It feels like something you're doing to protect yourself from a wound. And so you want to, it's like this thing where if someone has been in like a public disaster, after surviving that, the first thing they always look for is an exit in case that disaster were to happen again. So it feels like, Capricorn, you're doing a lot to protect yourself from the harm. And when I'm asking Spirit, why would this be something they like the most about Capricorn? It's because maybe even you don't try to show it outwardly. They kind of get the sense that deep down you're very sensitive. And even if it comes off a little bit harsh at first, a little bit rough, they are curious about seeing where that side of you goes when you do shut down, when you do kind of start to detach and start to wander off in a way. And maybe also for others of you, if that's not so much the case, what I feel with the Seven of Swords then is, even if you do kind of stop talking for a little bit, text back, although it upsets them, you always do come back. And when you come back every time, it shows that it is something that maybe you are trying to prepare for, or you're trying to heal, or you're trying to come to a better understanding of through this connection here. And the fact that you do come back does show that you want something out of this, or that you are starting to build a trust with this person, even if it does get very, very scary. You are a free thinker, I see that. And maybe that's why they admire your intelligence so much. You are someone that is a little bit of a lone wolf and maybe has had to go their own way a lot of the times if the crowd or the people you're around, your family, your environment, kind of make you feel alone for the way you believe, the way you think, the way you want to be. You still never let that change you. And they like that independent spirit and that independent soul that you do have, Capricorn. What they don't like about you is King of Cups. Scorpio energy. I think that for a while they were very patient with you, and that they understood maybe where there were at times you avoided conversations, and that even if it took time, and there were times where you stopped texting, you stopped calling, you did always come back. But they want you to be more comfortable in this connection. There is a lack of trust here that you may have in this. That does upset them. I don't feel this is someone that's already done you wrong. I have to make that clear for those who may be confused about who I'm talking about or wondering if this reading is for them. I feel that this is maybe a King of Cups in your past that you really had strong feelings for, you developed a strong emotional bond with, that broke your heart. Regardless of gender or sex, the King of Cups is masculine water energy, and they use their emotions, they use their dreams, they use their feelings, and maybe other people's feelings to get what they want. And Capricorn, I gotta say, whether this is true or not, because sometimes people's perspectives of us are not true, but they wonder sometimes if you're playing with their feelings a little bit. For the fact that maybe you're the one that's in and out, or that gets hot and cold. And that's why I think if you guys were to have this conversation, it would clear a lot up. Because I don't see your intent or purpose being emotionally manipulative. But they're afraid that's kind of what happens when you do text and then stop texting, or you call and then you stop, or you set something up to go on a date and then you bail out. But they want you to feel safe with them. They want you to feel at peace with them. And that's something they feel you still don't feel yet. Someone could have Middle Eastern ancestry, I'm randomly picking up on. Like Iranian, Egyptian, Moroccan even, I don't know why, but that's just a small message for someone out there. What they like the most about this connection is the Five of Swords. This is Aquarius energy, and this is kind of connotating with the Queen of Swords, and what they first kind of started to notice about you when they first set their eyes on you, or they first started talking to you. I don't think you take people's crap, Capricorn, period. And I think they've witnessed where you've had to shut some people down, put people in their place when they started stepping over the bounds, thinking you were going to be a doormat, thinking you were going to be someone to walk all over, because maybe at first you're a bit quiet, you're a bit calm, you let things slide, but when things get too far, you'll set it right.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. You use words to protect yourself. You use words to show people that you're not going to be okay with something that you're not okay with. You may come off as a little bit sassy sometimes, or just a little bit blunt and upfront with certain topics and certain factors. But they do like that side of you because it's a feistiness. It's a power, I guess, you carry. Even if at times with them, they feel like it goes a little bit far. They know with certain people you're doing it for the right reasons when they witnessed it before. There are 2 5s here. Your birthday could be January 5th, January 15th, perhaps December 25th for some of you guys out there. They do like the conversations they have with you, even if it does challenge the way they're thinking. You bring up some good points, and you've proven them wrong before, and they were very impressed by that. You've changed their minds on certain topics and situations and things that they would never have thought of. And you're definitely with the people you do care about, your friends, family members, children, you're defensive and you fight for. You won't let anyone treat the people you love with disrespect, not in your presence. And maybe you defended this person to someone before too.
I did.
When someone was trying to talk crap about them or be rude to them, you stepped in and you handled it.
I sure did. Online. Several times.
What they don't like about this connection is the Empress. Taurus energy, Libra energy. Couple different messages I'm getting here. So for some of you, it is a bit of a factor if you do have kids with someone else. They may find it to be difficult to have them to themselves when you do have kids to take care of. You may have someone else that's pregnant with your child, or you're pregnant with someone else's child. Just throwing that out there. But for most of you, what I feel with this Empress card is that you put a lot on yourself. I feel for some of you, it's work, it's projects, it's family issues. And it burns you out. And for some, they're kind of witnessing a specific situation that you're dealing with your work or with your family that is stressing you out, burning you out, and people just over rely on you to fix the issue and fix the problems. And they're trying to help you through it or trying to relax you from it, but it's very hard for you to relax and enjoy the moment when you have all the stressful things going on in your life. Others of you with the Empress card are what they don't like about the connection. It's just simply, they know there's so much potential here to grow. They know there's so much potential here to have a healthy, beautiful, harmonious relationship. But they don't know if you're the Empress that you're seeing it the same way, that you are putting the effort in to make this work and to make this happen. Or if you've given up on it or bored with it. They're worried about that. Their highest hopes is the Two of Pentacles. Capricorn energy. Some of you could possibly be dealing with another Capricorn or someone with strong Capricorn in their chart. If you're the Queen of Swords here who has been protected and not wanting to get hurt, and maybe has been avoiding certain topics, avoiding certain events, they want you to make up a mind and make up a choice of what you want to do with this. They are putting the ball in your court now. If this is the roles are reversed completely, then they're trying to figure out what to do. If with everything that they're experiencing, what can I put my resources and energy to? Am I distracting myself to kind of better handle the situation with Capricorn? But someone needs to make up their mind and not go back and forth, not go halfway into it It's either all or nothing.
That part.
At this point, someone wants it to be you or them, or maybe both of you in different ways for different reasons. But I do feel there's someone here that wants this connection to go out of the could be, should be's, maybes into something more solid, more grounded, and more stable. The deepest fears is the Queen of Wands. Aries energy. For someone, they're afraid that, especially with the combination of the King of Cups, again, which is just a fear, not a fact, for some of you, that this was all for your advantage to feel better about a certain breakup, that they were just a rebound, they were just someone to distract you from. And now that you guys have kind of started to let go of the past, you'll be onto yourself, focusing on yourself and not looking for love. Maybe they're afraid that you're going to be too prideful to let them in, to maybe strong, to depend on anyone else to share your problems, share your feelings, share your fears with, and that you want to do it all on your own with this Queen of Wands. But maybe, Capricorn, this is your fear, that someone is only in this to get in your pants, to have a hot time with you, and that's about it. That there is no solid foundation here between the two of you. There is no long term that can happen here, but someone's just looking to get their own wants and their own needs and their own sexual gratification. I wonder if your ex had Queen of Wands energy. Maybe you're just afraid of the past repeating itself again. For some reason I'm seeing a butterfly. Someone could have like a butterfly tattoo or something that has a deep personal resonance with the butterfly energy, but that is transformation. And I feel someone wants to transform and shift this energy with you. And I think they're hoping for it by the end of the month. Or else something may have to change that may push this person away for good. Or maybe they're going to push you away for good, Capricorn. I don't know. But to see what's likely to happen, what they're likely to do in the upcoming days and weeks as December unfolds, we're going to go ahead and take this to Vimeo for the extended reading. But before we go, I'm going to go ahead and pull one more card and see if there's anything else that you need to know about this connection, about this person, about your love life at this time. Anything else? I do feel a strong sense that someone's going to reveal something here, that it's all going to make sense then. Why it took so long, why it took so slow, why there was avoidance. Romantic feelings, yeah. And it says your feelings are real and worth exploring. That's what Spirit wants you to know, Capricorn. You don't have to be afraid of love. That everything you're feeling is something valid, the light, even the fear of it. But to evaluate those feelings and see which feelings are more right and true and which ones are just haunting you from the past experience. I do feel this person is really starting to care for you, is really starting to have feelings for you. And I think you are too. But are you going to let the fears from the past disrupt what's building here? Because I think something very beautiful is in the cards between the two of you. And that fear has got to go so you can experience the love of this moment now. All right, Capricorn, we're going to go ahead and take this to Vimeo for the extended reading. What are they going to do in the upcoming days, weeks? What's going to unfold? Is something going to be revealed here? Where to go?
All the views, the likes. Also check out my other channel, Mystic Redbird Tarot. I am taking a break from that channel for now, but in the new year, I'll be back into it again. So do take what resonates for you, leave the rest. Remember, messages are vice versa. Also, timing is fluid. If you would like a personal reading, information is in the description box below. So let me show you the oracle cards that I've drawn for you We have in the psychic
Oh,
tarot.
you
we've
still?
got
I
the
should
bottom of
know
the
you
deck.
my ride or die. I
Just
should know you
breathe,
still
and
hanging.
that is throat chakra. And we have rest and reconsider. And what's this one called? The chakra wisdom. We have discovery, gratitude under that, beautiful energy, and grief.
I already know.
We have in this oracle is trust your gut feeling. Let your heart lead you to who you are. So we see here, Capricorn, that there has been I feel a lot of disappointment from the past. This has really been a very spiritual journey for you in discovering yourself. And I feel like it is here that you've found the love within you for yourself, your self-respect, your self-love. And we see that Empress energy there. You've been giving to yourself, loving your family, your friends here. I feel there is someone who really took you for granted. And this is about loss, this card here, that this pink person here took someone for granted and has realized what they have lost after that person is gone. But in losing that person, it has now opened this person's heart to love. It's a very spiritual journey here. So for someone here is now seeing your worth here, this person I feel feels grateful for knowing you. It may be about the past that it is that you are deciding to let go of someone from your past.
Who the hell that is?
You now realize you don't need this person. You've had some time to grieve here, and I feel like you've felt that pain. This could also be, remember, it's vice versa. This could be somebody here now discovering that they miss you, and they grieve you, the loss of not having you in their life, because they never appreciated who you really were when they had you. So that may resonate for some of you.
Damn.
But this has been, I feel, for you and your person, a journey of discovery within yourself. So you know your person's on their own spiritual journey, but I feel here this has been a time where there's been no communication. 4 of Swords, 9 of Wands. I feel like you're tired. You're tired of trying to make things work. You're tired of putting and investing a lot into this relationship or connection with this person. Again, we have this person mirroring here. I feel this is the time of you taking a step back from love to rediscover who you are within yourself. And some of us lose ourselves in codependent relationships. We try to make things work. We invest a lot of time and energy and emotions, but we lose ourselves. We lose a part of ourselves. And I feel that you have taken a break from love. You've been trying to persevere. You're trying to move forward. You're remembering those lessons from the past, but I feel like now is a time that you've taken a break here. Somebody may be also with that, someone you're not speaking to here, that there was a breakup, there was pain, a separation right now, maybe wanting to speak to you. But this person here could be trying to find the courage, the strength to come forward here. We see someone is really thinking a lot about you, or you're thinking a lot about this person and the past. I feel that trust your gut. Spirit is leading you, I feel, in a new direction. Let your heart lead you to who you are. So you know who you are inside, and this person may have taken you for granted and not appreciated the things that you brought to that relationship or connection, but you are starting to see within yourself the love that you can give, and this person's missing it. I feel that someone's really grieving the loss of you. What messages do you have for Capricorn? Wishbone, a wish is granted. So there is a wish thing.
I got something for us to listen to. This gonna close me out for the night. But check this out, right? That nigga gonna send me a text. That nigga up front there. Talking about what's up. I text him back nothing. So I went I said, what you talking about? What's up? Oh, nothing. I got your message. I said, hey, what the hell are you talking about? Talking about what's up? Oh, you still stuck up? I said, I ain't never been stuck up. I said, I just told you what I wasn't gonna do, what I was gonna do, and what I wasn't gonna do. Simple as that.
Of the dreams and principles which we know to be true. Bless all of you. And some time ago, Jowett, who is one of the principal translators of Plato, commenting on the writings of Homer, said that he believed that Homer wrote the Odyssey and the Iliad before the establishment of the Greek mysteries. This seems unlikely, however, because much of the story that has come down to us from so many different sources is to be found in a short section of Homer's work called The Cave of the Nymphs. This is the story of the mysterious cavern presided over by immortal mortals. This cave was at an entrance into birth, and all creatures were born with the sun in Cancer. They then entered into the mysteries of the cave, descended to its lowest parts, ascended a ladder that brought them to the gate of exit in the sign of Capricorn. So in the ancient rites, there's no question that Homer was aware of some of the esoteric speculations of Far Asia and of the earlier Western cultures. This today we are worshiping, recognizing, and reviving one of the most ancient beliefs of mankind, the annual birthday of the sun. This has been regarded with sacredness from time immemorial. There is no people anywhere that has not passed through some phase of solar symbolism in their philosophies, their sciences, and their theologies. It has dominated all the arts. It has become involved in all harmonic theories of music, and the annual birthday of the sun is the most celebrated and sacred of all festivals throughout the world. We find records of it everywhere because it represents to the average believer the annual restoration of life and becomes a symbol of the grand resurrection in which all things in all conditions and all types of existence come finally to the great redemption, to the restoration, to the lifting up of all life from darkness to light. It is obvious that this belief originated in the Northern Hemisphere because all of the calculations, symbolisms, and devices involved in the rites are obviously related to a sun motion from the lower to the northern hemisphere of light. So here somewhere, maybe in India, maybe in China, this concept regained its most primitive acceptance. But very premier times, when there was nothing but savagery in the world, when men feared darkness and lived only in light, where night was a terror and day a resurrection and a relief. All of these facts and principles and ideas have come down to us in our modern philosophies, our modern religions, and even to a touch of our modern sciences. Because so much of knowledge has been based upon an astronomical mystery, the mystery of the calendar, the mystery of time and of days, the cycles of years, the feasts and various rituals attendant upon various seasons of the year, the harvest, the planting. All of these things were controlled by a fixed system of religion. All of the good things of earth come from one good thing, which is life itself. Now, the sun in its beginnings came to be understood or recognized as synonymous with life. That which the sun represented was alive. The sun was alive. And because it was alive, it could give life. It could propagate life. It could restore life. It could revive the lives and of things that were fading or failing. The sun was basically life. And this life was the common property of us all. The great benefit, the immense gift, the unchallenged mightiness upon which we all depend. From the tiniest atom to the greatest star, light is a symbol of the presence of life. Therefore, this light is a promise. It tells us something that we must all come to understand, that this light is not something that came from nothing. It is not something which was suddenly lit in some generation or age. It was eternal. Therefore, life is eternal. Immortality is a certainty. Growth is inevitable. For all good things, all revelations are based upon the immediate and inevitable and eternal presence of life. Life is therefore a very sacred thing. And as we watch its descent through all the orders of creation, we find that it comes finally to become shared with the human being. There is life in us, and this life in us has built its tabernacle of the flesh. It is this inner life that moves all parts of the outer life, because without this light, this tremendous power, all futility.
Mom, I know you're in here. Now you see how we can't make this up with them readings. Victoria say somebody trying to bend your wheel, they trying to make you back down off of what you said. And damn if it didn't just happen.
Would go on forever hopelessly. Therefore, we have great important thought of the importance of life. Therefore, every scripture in the world has told us to protect life. It has told us and warned us not to destroy life, rather not to destroy the houses which it builds, to cooperate with it. For within this light, we also have all the laws of light. And the laws of light are the commandments. They are the ways, they are the principles, they are the methods by means of which light accomplishes its perfect works. Therefore, to damage or destroy the channels of light, or the channels of light, such is a serious crime against eternity. Therefore, we must also remember that in the religions of mankind, there was a basic nature worship. Now, nature worship is not exactly what we sometimes think it is in terms of nature cults and things of this nature. Nature worship is the adoration of the realities of things. It is to look out upon the great breadths and depths of existence with gratitude, with humble wonder, and with a deep and abiding resolution to learn the lessons of light and life, that we may in due time become useful and valuable servants in this house of eternal effulgency. All religions, then, have had their light gods, and these light gods are all love gods. They are deities that protect, preserve, and elevate, lift up, and redeem every form of life in nature. Among the most interesting, perhaps, of these light gods and life gods was Horus, the beloved son of Osiris, the god of the Egyptians. The story of the rites of the Egyptian mysteries, the story is so similar to our own that it does not pay us to overlook it, because it also contains certain secrets, as these are set forth in the ancient rites and rituals of the rites of Memphis. In the days of long ago, Osiris, the Father God, the principal eternal light, the guardian and protector of peoples and nations and races, decided that the time had come to establish a covenant upon the earth. And he sent to the earth his only begotten son, Horus, the firstborn of the light god. And this Horus became the defender of the faith and established the mysteries. And the symbol of this deity was the sunball, the symbol of infinite life. And one of the symbols of this deity was the Scarabaeus, the beetle, which was the symbol of the sun itself, being rolled across the sky by the eternal power. And Horus became the symbol of the sun deity, and he sat in a ship, and this ship sailed across the sky in the daytime, and at night it went down and sailed through the underworld, so that the spirits in darkness might also have their light. The Egyptians did not know the heliocentric system as we do, but it is interesting that they had become aware of the fact that the sun's light was somewhere when it wasn't here, and regularly came up at the same time according to the seasons. So that instead of saying that it was on the other side of the earth, the Egyptians thought of it as in the underworld, or a subterranean part of the world, so that it passed through the darkness and brought peace to the souls that were troubled in the mysterious Amentet of the afterlife. And Horus became the avenger of his father. And once Horus became the Redeemer, he was the Lord of the Sheshesti, the Lord of the sons of light. And in the great battle between darkness and light, Horus led the hosts of heaven and overcame the dark adversary of winter and brought about in due time the bright light of spring. Everywhere these legends mix and mingle and fall together in patterns that give us a great deal of material for careful thought. Now, this light that we know somewhere shining forever has also been distributed.
You heard him say Amente? That's what they say in the book of Thoth, in the halls of Amente.
Through living things as the source of individual life, and therefore both life and light come within us, and the great life core within us is the human heart. It is in the heart that forever the drum of the gods is beating. It is also in the heart that the drum of Shiva in India beats out the pulse beat that keeps us alive. Everywhere we look, we find symbols. And everywhere we find symbols, we find the story of the victorious sun, the mysterious universal light that lighteth everything that cometh into the world. And this life and this power is the life of men. It is the life of all creations. It is distributed through the blades of grass. It goes through every form of life. Therefore, in all analysis, all life is one life, and that one life is the eternal life light itself, the power of the divine in all creation. So as we come to the winter solstice, we come to the time in which the ancients prepared for the day to come, where they looked through the stones of Stonehenge, or watched the shadows of the great pyramids. All these were to tell them the sacred moment, the divine instant in which life returned to the world. Now, of course, it is obvious that life did not entirely depart, for if it had, all things would have ended in the black or Kali Yuga of night. It didn't cease, it was diminished. It was diminished, and in this diminishing, left great problems unsolved. It also became a great moral force, because something was going on all the time that some of our forebears recognized that we have more or less forgotten, and namely that the darkness or the night is our challenge. The powers of heaven give us light and light. They give us the day with all its glory. But it is in our own hearts and souls that we must transform the night into eternal day. When we do this, we're in the light of reality forever. All these thoughts passed through primitive minds, but these minds were very solemn and sacred in their thinking. They tried very hard to realize their utter dependence upon a divine power at the source of existence. They did not believe that they could stand alone. They did not believe that they could turn their backs upon the laws of heaven and build a world of their own. They did not believe in an atheistic culture or anything in which we did not trace our way back to the one truth, the one reality, the one inevitable. On our days, we kind of set aside Christmas as a symbol of giving. And each in his own way, and from his own heart, does some giving. The gift of heaven is interpreted in our human lives by the gifts of kindness, by thoughtfulness, by compassion,
Right.
and by a sharing for a moment some of the realities that have come to our own observation. We find, therefore, the symbol of generosity, and the generosity is the sharing, finally, of life, the sharing of light, the sharing of truth.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest gift that we can give to any living thing is a share of the reality that abides within ourselves. So in the old days and so forth and so on, the giving of Christmas, which became identified with St. Nicholas of Myra, was a universal mystery.
Yeah, St. Nicholas.
Christmas was sacred, giving was sacred, sharing was sacred, long before Christianity began. But they did take this, as Irenaeus tells us, and they took the older symbolism and Christianized it.
Mm-hmm.
They explained that in reality, the ancient peoples were, in a sense, Christian people. They had the same teaching, the same essential reality, but they did not call it by the same name. They invented diverse symbols to represent the same truth that was to come to the world at the beginning of the Christian era. And so we have today the descent of the Christmas spirit by means of a psychological, astronomical theology, the symbol of the...
You know I got that fire over here. I can't how could I say, I can't disclose all of my hidden gems.
It's the planets and the great clock of eternity. If then we do it in this particular way, we will have some new thinking to do that will be valuable and useful to us. To the ancients, the great mysteries were birth and death. Birth was a coming forth into the obvious. Birth was an embodiment of an eternal life that existed both embodied and unembodied.
I know it. I know.
Birth was a coming into manifestation of invisible principles and powers.
Our ancestors studied the stars and stuff, the planets and everything. That's why they got these pyramids all over the place, because they weren't nothing but observatories that studied the solar system and stuff.
This was a wonderful miracle which the wisest could study and the simplest could comprehend. It was something that was a constant manifestation of unknown realities. Even today, we have no full understanding of the mystery of a life coming into embodiment. We know its physical processes. We can analyze and time the various steps of the procedure. But how it starts in the very beginning, What is the mysterious flash of divine power
I say
in some
again.
way comes forth out of the unknown?
I
It
just
is
look
not
like
in the
this.
bodies of the parents, it is not in the body of the child, but it is in the body of God. And all creatures, the parents and the child, are in the body of God. It is one mystery, specialized in one of the great events of existence, the mystery of birth. And in this birth, the light of heaven begins to shine through. Many mothers have seen it in the eyes of their babies. We see it also as we go along. We see that the child is born closer to God than we are. We realize that its thoughts and its ideals and dreams are very wonderful, if fanciful, and in a strange way more practical than ours, and that in our process of trying to help this child to become part of society, we in a way diminish the eternity of it and limit it into the concepts of our own life way. So the child begins, and this is the mystery of the sign of Cancer, the entrance to the cave of the mysterious nymphs. And then it goes on around the zodiac halfway from Cancer to Capricorn. And in Capricorn, we have the symbol of death or transition. Now, we take it first as a transitional symbol. We see the various energies and resources of life gradually impaired. We find that the time comes when the body can no longer sustain the dreams, the ideals of the spirit. Also, that in various ways, through ignorance, we have damaged that body so that it becomes more and more impaired, and that which was to be a temple to the Most High becomes a prison to our own mistakes. These things we have to face. But the time comes when there is a mysterious resurrection, which we call death. But death is really the going forth in light, according to the Egyptian ritual. To come forth by day is to come forth out of the darkness of our own limitations into the light of eternal truth. And beyond the grave, according to the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Persians, and the Chinese, there was not darkness, but light. All the darkness that there is here. And we immediately depart from it and come forth into the fullness. We come forth into the radiance of the celestial sun. So the Egyptians believed that what we call the Book of the Dead is really a misnomer. And the great Egyptologists of the modern world, like Budge, are aware that it is a misnomer. For the name of this sacred ritual, as performed in the rites of the Egyptians of the Osirian Recension, is the Book of the Coming Forth by Day. And I know I talked to Dr. Budge Sr. in Chicago years ago when we were discussing the story of the Book of the Dead. And I said to him, Dr. Prst, is there any evidence that this book was originally a drama, that it was performed by living actors within the precincts of the temples? It is not simply a discussion of the afterlife. It is a great drama of the life cycle. Bud smiled. He said, it is certainly true. And I have seen copies, manuscripts of the Book of the Dead with the prompter's marks for the actors. It was a living drama, not merely a strange mythological account of something beyond our general understanding. And in this mystery of coming forth by day, we have the individual who goes forth in the light of truth. That the light within means that we retire not into darkness, but into light. And while the darkness may gather heavy upon the flesh, the more we press on into the mystery, the less darkness there is. And we find that the darkness belongs to this world and not to the eternity. Then we may ask, why are we placed here with this peculiar restriction? Why are so many people living and dying without believing in light? How is it that we struggle from day to day on mass of unsophisticated purposes? How is it that we continue to follow little patterns that lead nowhere and are perfectly content to waste our years rather than to grow. Why do these things happen? And the Egyptians and the Persians and the Hindus have given us a good answer. They have pointed out that we are here just as a small schoolboy says, why do I have to go to school every day when I'd rather go fishing? This is it. We would rather have fun. We would rather do nothing important. We would rather lazily go along, doing as we please, and hoping that everything will come out well. But it doesn't. And it doesn't come out well because it is contrary to the plan of our own existence. The great mystery school, the great center of initiation for man is the human world itself with all that it contains. This earth is our secret house where we must learn how to attain our own conscious immortality. We are here to learn, to grow, and to pass through the rites of life. And these rites are basically three. The rite of youth and childhood is the first. The rite of maturity is the second. The rite of age is the third. We move from one level of the mystery to another. And in each level, there are lessons to learn. And those who learn the lessons graduate. Those who do not learn the lessons continue to drift along in their uncertainties. So in the great cycle of rituals, as broken up into the year, into the day, into the hour, into the minute, all these divisions are significant and have been made into parts of theology by our remote ancestors who lived and struggled and learned and died long before our time. But always the mystery was the same. Always the rite was the same. The purpose of life was to grow. The purpose of life was to release the light from within, so that instead of depending upon the reformations of physical society, we redeemed ourselves. As Paul says, the Christ in you, the hope of glory. It is our own inner divinity that must shine forth and lead us on the way of righteousness. We look everywhere for leaders, but the leader we never seem to look for is always here in our own heart. And it is this leader that speaks to us sometimes faintly through conscience, and often is silent for many years. Very often in tragedy and great loss, we turn to this inner leadership, and then we discover that there is balm in Gilead, that from this inner life comes the peace, the security, the understanding, which redeems and regenerates the uncertainties of mortality. So here we are with the presence of the sovereign sun, that Akhenaten represented as rays of light, each ending in a human hand. The sun that was no respecter of persons, the sun that was not an autocrat, but was as mindful of the sparrow's fall as it was of the collapse of empire. This ever-present, utter intimacy of life, this life which is a seed, so to say, planted in everything and growing in everything, unless the thing in which it grows turns against it. And all this life has no cash value. It is far more important. We cannot buy it, we cannot sell it. But we can bestow something of it from our own hearts if we so desire. We can comfort, we can help to enlighten, we can serve generously the needs of life, but we cannot buy or sell the light of heaven. It does not come out of our intellectualism, it does not come out of our materialism. It is not to be found in the laboratories of science, but the base materials of it are everywhere. And there is nothing that man ever learns, ever studies, or ever believes that in one way or another is not an instrument of eternal light. So on Christmas we come when the sun moves northward, when the darkness of winter begins to break, and we look forward to the promise of another day. We are reasonably certain, even in our most pessimistic moments, that the sun will rise, that the winter will break, that the tiny green things will break through the earth again, that nature will be fruitful, and the human being will be mindful. All these changes are part of a great procedure, a great process. And this process is mentioned in the story of the mysteries of the pyramid, in the house of the hidden places. The pyramid is the symbol of this earth, for its chambers and its inner parts are also symbols of the mysteries of our physical existence. Every mood we have is a room. Every conviction that we nourish puts walls around us or opens them. Every wall is either a divider or a protector. Everything we do has in some way a sacred significance, either directly or by lesson. We learn by doing it well, we learn by doing it poorly. In both cases, learning is inevitable. So as we stand now on the dawn of a very difficult age, a time in which most of our hopes are clouded by the uncertainties that are occurring, when it's sometimes very difficult to keep faith with Providence, to keep our hearts and minds dedicated to those values which are so necessary. In these days, to understand the mystery of the annual birth of the sun, it seems to be especially important. In a few days now, the sun will move northward. When it does so, it will give us the promise of another year. We will make our mistakes, but the grass will grow. We can make all the mistakes we want, but the birds will sing. And we will also make terrible times, but little lives will come into birth through us. Everywhere the great plan goes on, and the human being either forwards it or detracts from its fulfillment. But no matter what we do, good, bad, or indifferent, the great plan goes on. It is larger, deeper, and more mysterious than any obstacle that we can build against it. It goes on fulfilling itself. In old times, the priesthoods of the ancients were groups of dedicated persons united to help the good word go on, to help to make life rich, to bring new persons to the understanding of the great integrities of existence. And out of all these integrities, we've had the commandments of every culture, the laws of ethics, rules, rites, and ceremonies. And in ancient times, people were a little bit intimidated because they were told that if they broke these rules, they would suffer. Now, the suffering usually consisted in being rejected by their fellow citizens, but this was not the real meaning of it or the significance of it. Those who break the rules suffer because they have broken the rules. They suffer because it is inevitable that when we are not consistent with the laws of that light in which we exist, when we cut it off, when we turn our backs to it, when we deny it, or try to corrupt and pervert it into some selfish purpose of our own, then we bring down the strange power that changes the light, as Vimy says, into a consuming fire. Therefore, light is the basis of our growth, and fire is the basis of our purification, as the alchemist pointed out. Every day we are here. We
I know man
being
make all the
tested.
bullshit. I say it all the time. I said that's man law. See that all this damn, all these diamonds I be dropping over here. I should have a slew full of people over here in the chat, or at least more subscribers that I got. But if I was out here, like you say, if I was out here with a whole bunch of foolishness, I have a whole bunch of subscribers, a whole bunch of people in the chat. But I ain't with all that bullshit. I'm about consciousness, trying to wake people up. My enemy is necessary. Like I said, I incorporate everything because you get knowledge out of everything. You can never get too much knowledge.
Not based by some arbitrary power, but by our own needs. Within ourselves there are hungers, there are pains, there are mistakes that we constantly suffer from. We wish we didn't make them, but we do. We wish we could get over making them. We can, but we may not. Actually, The whole of our existence is a great initiation ritual, and the grand master of the mysteries is the Son, the great hierophant who controls all the rites and all the symbols. Not the visible sun as we see it in the sky, but as what the Emperor Julianus called the mystery of the sovereign Son and the Mother of the gods. The sovereign Son is the ruler whose laws cannot be disobeyed. This is a
But instead, I got some that'll be hanging in the clouds. They be waiting on me to drop my gems so they can, steal the shit and go back and use it later on. Like I don't be knowing what the hell be going on.
Gnosticity. We do not see its principles. But the whole mystery of light is, as Newton found out, completely mathematical, completely lawful. In light is all things. And this light that comes from above, reflected through all forms of creation, turned and crossed over the orbit of the moon, and finally coming down to our earth. This light is a complete work in itself. It is a manuscript with more pages than have ever been written. It is a teacher that teaches more than any sage has ever known. It is a parent more intimate, more kindly, more loving than any physical parent can possibly be. And out of the great eternity of condition, out of the infinite number of things that must be rectified, in this light there is nothing failing, nothing overlooked. The light can reach to the furthest star and into the soul of the tiniest grain of sand. All of it is part of the tremendous dynamic effulgency of this light content. It is something that is so tremendous that we can only see the fringes of its robes. Its own substance is beyond us. So on Christmas Day, we worship, venerate, or adore, in one form or another, by one faith or another, by one system or another, the same mystery, the infinite blessing of God's gift of life, of light, of hope, of faith. And these things are indigenous. They are within us. They are not something that have to be taken out of the pages of a holy book. They are in our own hearts. And they are available to us at all times. But we celebrate this availability by the great birth of light at Christmas and the resurrection of light at Easter. These are the ancient ceremonies, the ancient symbols. And now, with all the problems that we face, it is necessary for us to begin to examine a few of these things. We are surrounded by an infinite amount of abuse. Every resource we have is being threatened. The peace and happiness of mankind is in doubt. We are very much aware of our infirmities, but not aware of the remedy. The remedy lies in the very fact of light itself, lies in the fact that our adoration for the eternal should be so much greater than our fear of the temporal, that we cannot be moved from the foundation of gratitude, understanding, love, and obedience. The laws of life is like a parent. We must obey. We must, in one way or another, keep the rules of the game. When we do, we are in a magnificent life of peace and security. When we break the rules, disaster descends upon us. We are beginning now, after a number of years of disaster, to consider this matter. We are beginning to feel that there's some relationship between the sky and the infinite and the stars and the sun and the moon and our little puny existence down here on a little ball rolling through space. We begin to realize that we are citizens of a vast universe whose rules we must obey. And we are here not simply to conquer this universe. We're here not to take its resources and exploit them. We are not here to get rich of what nature has provided. Because if we were, and it was lawful, we would not have to leave all of it behind when we go. We can only take with us that which we have achieved in union with life itself. And so on this season, the experience of light, the experience of life should be very close to us. And it is properly represented by generosity, by the individual sharing instead of hoarding, the individual giving instead of taking, the individual who realizes that it is better to love than to be loved. This all is part of a great story, a great reality. And the whole hope, the whole principle of it, the whole privilege of it, it is returned to us through the mystery of the winter solstice. Here, a necessary extra something is bestowed. In the winter, the world is like the body of things. It is like our physical bodies. In the darkness of winter, the bodies become objects of fear, the objects of abuse, the objects of terror, and crime stalks the darkness. In the light, however, the body becomes a symbol of radiance and luminosity. If we are limited to the body, we dwell in night. If we sustain our realities and survive the mysteries of our problems, then we ascend from body into unity with life itself. There is only one life. Therefore, there can be only one creature. And all the infinite diversities that we know, from the greatest to the smallest, are parts of one eternal family. A family that is forever here. A family in which we can have good relations or bad relations according to our own conduct. This is a family which we have not yet discovered to be a brotherhood or a sisterhood. We are not sure that those far away understand us, and probably they don't. But it is also true that the law says they must, and we must. There is no end to problem, no solution to the mystery of existence, except the restoration of the unity of life and the realization of the oneness of all created things. This means that all our natural resources must be used lovingly and unselfishly, that we are not permitted by nature to amass anything that is destructive to another person, that we are not allowed to be selfish with impunity. Everywhere we turn, the law works, and the law is love. And without that law, the great realities can never be revealed to us. We will invent many things and abuse them because we have no love. We will do much in research into the depths of nature, but it will be for profit and not for principle, and all will fail. Every device that we invent as a commodity, a convenience, or a new revelation of skills will remain a danger, a hazard, and a constant problem until it is used as the eternal demands that it be used. We cannot use it any other way and survive. And we have to do the same thing with our own lives. If we maintain our grudges and antagonisms, if we find a certain satisfaction in hurting the feelings of others, if we blame others for all our troubles and all our misfortunes, and pass on to other public officials answers that we must find for ourselves, these things continue to be a problem. We cannot be saved by government, but we can gradually restore the government of the eternal over the temporal. We can restore the government of light. And Tirmidh Shah, the great Muslim conqueror,